This video continues with Chapter 81 U&039, LL Regret It. Hiruzen, 5th update, please subscribe. Naruto, I'm in Konoha, my name is Uzumaki.Menma. Chapter 81 U&039, LL Regret It. Hiruzen, 5th update, please subscribe. Chapter 81 You'll regret it. Hiruzen, 5th update, please subscribe. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, has left. Before leaving, he told Shisui to take good care of his injuries, and gave Uchiha Fugaku a deep look. That meaningful look made Fugaku feel very uncomfortable. Since becoming the head of the Uchiha clan, he has been trying to find ways to make the Uchiha more integrated into the village. During the Third Shinobi World War, he personally led his troops on the front lines and forged a deep friendship with Minato Namikaze. His wife, Mikoto, is also a close friend of Minato Namikaze's wife, Kushina Uzumaki. When Minato Namikaze became the 4th Hokage, Fugaku Uchiha seemed to see the dawn of the Uchiha clan's complete integration into the village. However, the chaos caused by the Nine-Tailed Fox changed everything. The rampaging Nine-Tails not only destroyed many buildings in the village, but also took the lives of many villagers and ninjas. The Sharingan in the Nine-Tails' eyes pointed the finger directly at the Uchiha clan. The deaths of the 4th Hokage and his wife left the Uchiha clan politically without any support. The 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, who regained power, continued the suppression policy against the Uchiha clan from the 2nd Hokage's time. He even moved the Uchiha clan's territory to a place further away from the village because of the Nine-Tails' attack. Now another Mangekyo Sharingan that had been roaming outside has appeared. Fugaku Uchiha was truly exhausted, both physically and mentally. He could already imagine how the higher-ups in Konoha would criticize the Uchiha clan. Clan leader, Shisui's call brought Fugaku back to his senses. He looked at the youngest member of the clan, the 3-Tamo Uchiha, and comforted him, "You should rest well." Shisui, however, grabbed Fugaku's hand. Their eyes met and Shisui whispered she has Susanoo, a complete Susanoo. When Fugaku heard about the complete Susanoo, his heart skipped a beat. This is the 3rd power that only the Mangekyo Sharingan can unleash. Even Fugaku has only just mastered some basic forms of Susanoo, and is still far from the complete form. As expected, it was that person who took away a member of the clan. Fugaku was even more certain of the Uchiha's origins. Only in this way can we explain why an Uchiha bloodline who was separated from his family could awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan at a young age and even evolve Susanoo to its complete form without the family's guidance. Uchiha Madara. Only the strongest clan leader in the history of the Uchiha clan could have cultivated such a powerful individual. Although, when this clan chief defected, clan records show that no clansmen followed him. However, Madara Uchiha did take away a lot of the clan's books. If Madara Uchiha secretly took a few clansmen away, then everything makes sense. It has to be Uchiha Madara. Hokage Building. Hiruzen, the Uchiha clan must be held accountable. Danzo stormed into the Hokage's office, a sinister glint in his single eye. Hiruzen Sarutobi had just returned from the hospital after visiting the Shisui squad and hadn't even had a chance to sit down properly. Faced with his old friend's persistent questioning, he immediately put on a serious face and said, "This matter has nothing to do with the Uchiha clan in the village. The Uchiha bloodline is scattered abroad. This is a dereliction of duty on their part." Danzo persisted. Hiruzen Sarutobi picked up his pipe, took a deep drag of smoke, and slowly exhaled a smoke ring. It should be a minority of clansmen that Madara Uchiha took away. Uchiha Madara. Even the cunning Danzo was taken aback upon hearing this name. Danzo Shimura and Hiruzen Sarutobi were born before the founding of Konoha. They grew up listening to the stories of the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, and even saw Hashirama Senju in person. As for the other protagonist of the story, Madara Uchiha, who was on par with Hashirama Senju, also left a deep impression on them. Madara Uchiha left the village in Konoha Year 2, attempting to take his clansmen with him, but it is said that no one was willing to go with him. After disappearing for several years, Madara Uchiha returned and wreaked havoc. He was eventually killed by the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, at the Valley of the End. When Madara Uchiha was killed by Hashirama Senju, Danzo Shimura and the others were already genin or chunin. Even decades later, they still feel lingering fear when they think of Madara Uchiha. Don't blame everything on Uchiha Madara. He's been dead for many years. But Danzo didn't believe such a statement, or rather, he pretended not to believe it. This was solely to put pressure on the Uchiha clan. I will send people to continue investigating the intelligence on Hoshigakure. Hiruzen Sarutobi did not inform Danzo of the information about the Uzumaki clan. Even after learning the secret of Shisui's Mangekyou Sharingan technique, Kato Matsukami, he hesitated whether to tell Danzo. At this moment, Danzo also remembered Nagato, whom he and Hanzo had tricked in Aimgakure years ago. Could this Uchiha be related to the Akatsuki? Danzo was uncertain and prepared to send someone to investigate. The Land of Bears is too far from the Land of Fire, separated by several other countries. Furthermore, the Land of Bears is sandwiched between the Land of Earth and the Land of Wind, making it impossible for Konoha to deploy a large-scale ninja force. No matter what, this is the bloodline of the Uchiha clan. Either bring her back, or... Danzo hated the Uchiha clan to the core, but he couldn't accept that there were Uchiha clan members wandering outside the village. So, who are you planning to send to capture them? Hiruzen Sarutobi put down his pipe and asked in return, even an elite jonin like Shisui is no match for them, and the enemy certainly has more than just one high-level combatant. They all knew that Shisui's strength was definitely among the top 3 in the Uchiha clan, and he might even surpass Fugaku, the clan leader, in a few years. The other 2 members of this team are a jonin from the Hyuga clan and a war veteran whose taijutsu skills are close to those of a jonin. Such an elite jonin-led squad was so badly defeated by an enemy. HMPH, I have my own plans. Danzo snorted, his one eye fixed on the 3rd Hokage, and seized the opportunity to say, if you return the armor to me. Before Danzo could finish speaking, Hiruzen Sarutobi interrupted him. Don't even think about it. Tenzo's would release belongs to Konoha, not to you, Danzo. Hiruzen Sarutobi sat in his chair, his gaze meeting that of Danzo, who was standing. Although Danzo was mentally prepared for being loudly reprimanded by Hiruzen Sarutobi, it still made him furious. He painstakingly picked up a wood-release ninja from Orochimaru's experimental materials, and after nurturing him for so many years, he was outmaneuvered by Hiruzen Sarutobi. After that mission to pursue Orochimaru, Ku seemed to have become a different person, and his belief in loyalty to Orochimaru began to waver. He even had a dispute with Danzo. Sensing that the chess piece was getting out of control, Danzo tried to control Yamato using Sharingan Genjutsu and Cursed Seals, but was interrupted by Kakashi, who suddenly broke into the root base and rescued Yamato. Danzo, of course, did not want to see such a pawn slip away, so he immediately sent root ninjas to hunt him down. However, they were stopped by Hiruzen Sarutobi, who arrived just in time. As the 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi transferred Ku away from Root and placed him under the direct command of the Hokage's Anbu, which Danzo resented. Hiruzen Sarutobi warned Danzo, I am the Hokage. You'll regret this, Hiruzen. Danzo angrily left those words and slammed the door shut. Boom, looking at the slammed door and Hiruzen Sarutobi surrounded by wisps of smoke, the furrows on his brows deepened even further. The Uchiha and Uzumaki clans who were separated from their families. What exactly happened in Hoshigakure? End of this chapter. Chapter 82, the correct use of multiple shadow clone techniques. Chapter 82, the correct use of multiple shadow clone techniques. The Kingdom of Bears, its capital. This city, with a population of only 120,000, has now fully restored its production and daily life order after a brief period of turmoil. In fact, due to the implementation of new policies and the reduction of aristocratic exploitation, it is now showing unprecedented vitality. In that coup d'etat, which the Bear Country and the Star Ninjas privately called Operation Longsword, the noble class and daimyo of the Bear Country were completely eradicated. and a brand new group led by Lord Shura was being born in the Bear Country. On a vast plain west of the capital of the Bear Kingdom, farmers who had rented land from the government were working hard, either cultivating new fields or clearing land. People's enthusiasm for farming was unprecedented, hoping to plant the last crop of winter wheat before winter arrived. They look forward to an early harvest next year, hoping to repay the debts for seeds and farming tools, and have something to look forward to in the future. Meanwhile, the villagers and ninjas of Zingran Village relocated to an area in the eastern part of the capital to carry out construction. This area was originally a hunting forest belonging to a powerful figure, and ordinary people were prohibited from entering, thus preserving a relatively intact wild environment. Using this dark river as the boundary, the eastern part will be planned as a military, administrative, and experimental area, while the western part will be planned as a residential and commercial area. At the top of the daimyo's mansion in the Land of Bears, Menma pointed to a river on the map and discussed the construction of the capital with Vanilla Uzumaki, Kato, and others. Among his subordinates, only Vanilla Whirlpool, Kato, and Nightstar possessed any administrative abilities. Several days have passed since the battle with Obito Uchiha, who called himself Uchiha Madara. The relocation of Zingran Village has been basically completed, and a brand new city is under construction. Winter is just around the corner, so we need to prepare more supplies to keep warm. After the farming season, we should organize the people to develop this plain and build water conservancy facilities and infrastructure. Menma knew the importance of infrastructure and agricultural development. Currently, the military strength of the Land of Bears is based on the Star Ninja Village, with Menma and others as its top combatants. They should not have to worry about attacks from other countries in the short term. The surrounding small and medium-sized countries, such as the Land of the Dark, the Land of Demons, and the Land of Birds, do not have ninja villages. 5 years ago, Iwagakure suffered heavy casualties during the war when 10,000 ninja besieged the Third Reikage, and temporarily had no desire to wage war against other countries. The disappearance of the Third Keizukage of Sunagakure triggered the Third Shinobi World War, and the village's strength has been greatly weakened. The daimyo of the Land of Wind has also taken the opportunity to continue to reduce financial support to Sunagakure. The possibility of Sunagakure launching a war is not small, but given the village's strength, there is really nothing to worry about. Therefore, the main focus of the current Mahjong game is on the construction of the Bear Country. My lord, neighboring countries have imposed a blockade on us, prohibiting caravans from entering, and the country's finances are already strained, Kato said with some concern, describing the recent international situation. Menma was not worried about the so-called blockade by various countries. Merchants are profit-driven. The Land of Bears is located between the Land of Wind and the Land of Earth. It is an important trade route for the two major countries and even several countries in the western part of the ninja world. As long as we keep the commercial tax rate stable and fair and create a good business environment, these merchants will find a way to come in on their own. Many technologies in the ninja world are quite primitive. Apart from the ninja villages, which have some modern technology, most other areas are still at the feudal or modern living standards. Commercial exchanges mainly relied on horse-drawn carriages for transportation on land, and the ships used for transportation at sea were mostly wooden vessels. The blockade order, issued by the daimyo, provided profit-driven merchants with numerous ways to smuggle goods. As for sending ninjas to patrol the border, please, hiring ninjas is very expensive, and the daimyo is unwilling to spend that money. And merchants can also hire ninjas for protection. In short, this is a chaotic world. Menma arranged for Kato and Yexing to be primarily responsible for urban construction and economic development. Whirlpool Vanilla assembled a government affairs team and gradually took charge of the country's government affairs. Meanwhile, Menma also dispatched many shadow clones, mainly active in various cities and departments of the Land of Bears, to maintain the operation of the entire national machinery during the transition period. Thanks to the multiple shadow clone technique, Menma's shadow clones spread throughout the grassroots, spreading ideas and education, cultivating administrative talent, and accumulating grassroots administrative strength for the new government of this country. After the meeting, Menma went to the laboratory located underground in Daimyofu. This place used to be the underground vault and warehouse of the daimyo of the Bear Country, and it has since been renovated. Before the new experimental area is completed and put into use, this is the temporary experimental base for hemp. A dozen or so shadow clones dressed in white lab coats were conducting research on various projects, including research on Hashirama cells, research on the Ibri clan's bloodline limit, research on white Zetsu cells, research on wood release, research on various ninjutsu, and research on scientific ninja tools. Menma is a member of the Uzumaki clan, possessing a vast amount of chakra and vitality. With the Dark Nine-Tails continuously providing chakra, he can create 2,000 shadow clones on his own to engage in various activities and research. Moreover, these 2,000 shadow clones are only for maintaining the operation of the national machinery and various research projects. They are not the upper limit of the multiple shadow clone technique, nor are they the upper limit of the Dark Nine-Tails chakra. Lord Shura, Menma entered a medical room, where a beautiful woman with long red hair, Natsumi, rose from the bedside and bowed respectfully to Menma. Lying on the hospital bed was an emaciated man, her husband, Yinghuo. "Are you feeling better?" Menma nodded to Natsumi, walked to the bedside, and placed his hand on Hadaru's wrist, injecting chakra into his body to check for residual radiation. "I'm much better now, thank you, sir." Ziarai forced a smile. Both were Jonin of Hoshigakure. After discovering that the meteorite training method would cause the body to be eroded by radiation and die, they attempted to steal the meteorite. However, they were persuaded by the third Hoshikage, Yosai, to fake their deaths and escape by living around Hell Valley, where they secretly monitored the situation of Hoshigakure. When Yi Xing found them, Yinghu was already on her deathbed. Ziarai had been taking care of her husband recently, so she did not notice anything unusual about Xing Ninja Village. Menma used Kagura's mind's eye and malicious sense to question and investigate them. After confirming that they knew nothing about the situation in Hoshigakure and were not the ones who leaked the information, she did not make things difficult for them. Moreover, since the firefly's body was eroded by meteorite radiation, it could serve as a research subject, and it has been receiving treatment and cooperating with research in this medical laboratory for the past few days. Now that we've ruled out Natsume and Firefly as the moles, the mole must be one of the captured star ninjas. Menma looked at Natsumi, who had red hair. If she remembered correctly, the traitors of the star ninja in the story were led by someone named Akahoshi. End of this chapter, Chapter 83, The Appeasement Policy of the Land of Earth and the Land of Wind. Chapter 83, The Appeasement Policy of the Land of Earth and the Land of Wind, the capital of the Land of Wind, is shrouded in yellow sand. Wearing the wind, shadow god robe and sporting dark circles under his eyes, Rasa was being led by a servant through the winding corridors of the daimyo mansion. Soon he arrived at a courtyard filled with birdsong and fragrant flowers. Hidden within this city surrounded by desert is a paradise comparable to the Land of Fire. In the pavilion at the center of the courtyard, bamboo curtains swayed gently, and the daimyo of the Land of Wind, dressed in magnificent attire, casually tossed bait into the pond, causing golden scales to ripple and splash. "Your Highness," Rasa greeted the daimyo from outside the pavilion. However, after waiting for a long time, the famous man behind the bamboo curtain did not turn around or speak. Only the sound of fish splashing in the pond could be clearly heard. Only after the bait was all scattered did the daimyo of the Land of Wind slowly turn his head and say with feigned surprise, "Oh dear, Lord Kazekage is here. Why didn't you say so sooner? Come in quickly, look at you, all travel-worn." The folding fan in the daimyo's hand suddenly unfolded, obscuring half of his ambiguous smiling face. Although this deliberate teasing of Rasa made him somewhat unhappy, he could only suppress his displeasure and enter the pavilion, sitting opposite the daimyo of the Land of Wind. Daimyo acted as if nothing had happened, beckoning two maids over to pour Luo Sha a cup of tea. The state structure in the Naruto world is quite strange. Ninjas possess extraordinary power, yet they are hired by states like mercenaries. Furthermore, the appointment of the kage and leader of a ninja village also requires the approval of the daimyo. For example, after the death of the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, Danzo and Tsunade both went to the capital of the Land of Fire to seek the support of the daimyo when they were vying for the position of fifth Hokage. The daimyo of the Land of Wind has also seized control of Tsunegakure's economic lifeline, frequently reducing funding, forcing Rasa to use magnet release to pan for gold in the desert to supplement the village's economy. The relationship between the leaders of the ninja villages, and even the kage, and the daimyo is subtle, resembling both superiors and subordinates and also allies. Since the Warring States period, various ninja clans have been employed by states and daimyo, and this strange relationship has persisted and become deeply ingrained in people's minds. Even powerful ninjas would not willingly cross this line. But now, this line between the nation and the ninja village, the red line between the daimyo and the ninja, has been ruthlessly trampled. Does the Kazekage know anything about the situation in the Land of Bears? The daimyo of the Land of Wind picked up his teacup and took a sip. I have already dispatched a team led by a jonin from the village to investigate. Rasa was not good at lying, so he simply told the truth about the recent situation. However, we haven't heard any news for a long time. Look at this tea. It's top-grade tea from the Land of Demons. Now that there's a rebellion in the Land of Bears, even tea prices have gone up quite a bit, the daimyo of the Land of Wind said meaningfully. Luo Sha did not understand what Daming was saying, and remained silent. Seeing this, the daimyo of the Land of Wind was somewhat exasperated with Rasa's blockheadedness. He fiddled with the fan in his hand, and slowly revealed the true purpose of summoning Rasa here. How many ninjas would be needed to suppress the rebellion of the Star Ninja Village? The rebellion of the Star Ninjas in the Land of Bears has spread throughout the ninja world. People in the surrounding small countries are living in fear, and the daimyo and nobles of the Land of Earth and the Land of Wind are also afraid that this trend will spread. Rasa analyzed the situation. If we are to launch a war against Hashigakure in the Land of Bears, we must be prepared for Iwagakure in the Land of Earth to intervene. As for our Tsunegakure, we have not yet recovered from the last Great War, so I'm afraid it will be difficult. The last Shinobi World War was triggered by the disappearance of the third Kazekage, which led to the invasion of Iwagakure. Rasa's mention of the possibility of Iwagakure's involvement in the Land of Earth made the daimyo feel a pang of heartache. He recalled the last war, in which the Land of Wind suffered a crushing defeat. In order to make peace with the neighboring countries, the Land of Wind paid a lot of silver, all of which came from the funds of the Damming Prefecture. Couldn't we send out a few powerful ninjas to capture the leader of the rebellious ninjas? The daimyo of the Land of Wind opened his folding fan and then closed it again. Rasa shook his head. I'm sorry, Your Highness, we lack information. We don't even know who the leaders of these rogue ninjas are. Yakura's squad has been out of contact for several days, and their chances of survival are slim. Tsunegakure is severely lacking in intelligence and top-tier combat power, so Rasa really doesn't want to fight this war. Most importantly, the daimyo of the Land of Wind never mentioned providing any financial support to Tsunegakure. This is what angered Rasa the most. They wanted Tsunegakure to fight, but they didn't give them any money. The daimyo of the Land of Wind was in a dilemma. Although the daimyo of the Land of Bear was dead and many nobles had been killed, it really had nothing to do with him, the daimyo of the Land of Wind. It was simply because they were both daimyo, and their instinctive aversion to the rebellion of Hashigakure was the only reason they felt this way. But would they really have to spend their own money to quell the rebellion in the Land of Bears? The stingy daimyo of the Land of Wind wouldn't part with that money. Furthermore, if the Land of Wind sends ninjas to intervene in the Land of Bear, it will definitely provoke a reaction from the Land of Earth. We finally ended the Third Shinobi World War, and before we could even rest and have a few good days, we have to fight again. The daimyo of the Land of Wind is very frugal with his money. Ultimately, the meeting ended without results. the daimyo of the Land of Wind merely instructed the Sand Village to pay attention to the situation in the Land of Bears. Those rogue ninjas can cause all sorts of trouble in the Land of Bears. Just don't come to the Land of Wind to cause trouble. The same situation occurred in the Land of Earth. The daimyo of the Land of Earth summoned Onoki, the third Tsuchikage of Iwagakure, to discuss how to deal with the rebellion of Hoshigakure in the Land of Bears. Similarly, because the ninja team he sent out had not returned in time, Onoki did not want to get involved in the quagmire of the Land of Bears, lest the Sand Village of the Land of Wind take the opportunity to invade. In the last great battle, 10,000 Iwagakure ninja besieged the third Reikage, but they paid a heavy price to exhaust that brute's chakra. Iwagakure also did not want to fight a war lacking intelligence. Neither the Land of Earth nor the Land of Wind, which border the Land of Bears, wanted to fight, so the two countries simply sealed off their borders. The two major ninja villages dispatched a small number of ninjas to be stationed on the border with the Land of Bears to strengthen border patrols and occasionally engage in friction and small-scale battles with the star ninjas along the border. And so, under the appeasement policies of the two great powers, time gradually came to Konoha calendar 55. The ninja world is still far from peaceful. Hidden Leaf Village. At the beginning of the new year, Menma sat on the veranda, idly gazing at the night sky. Every now and then, fireworks would burst across the sky, adorning the night. Next to the noodles, there was a fruit platter with various candies, fruits, and other snacks. Little Nine-Tailed Fox was lying next to the fruit plate, holding a large piece of biscuit in her hand. Just as she was about to take a bite, she suddenly sensed something and quickly jumped into Menma's scarf. "Come out, I see you." Menma turned his head slightly and looked at a shadow on the courtyard wall. Naruto emerged from the shadows with a grin and jumped over the courtyard wall into the yard. Although Naruto is only 4 years old, his physical abilities are higher than those of ordinary people. He can not only jump up several floors, but also knows some simple throwing techniques and ninjutsu. "Brother Menma, it's the new year and I wanted to say something to you." Naruto stood in the yard, scratching the back of his head, stammering a bit. Seeing Naruto's somewhat excited yet flustered expression, Menma smiled. "Happy New Year, Naruto." Menma patted the person next to him, inviting Naruto to sit down. Naruto, who was spending his first New Year's Day with someone, grinned and sat on the veranda, watching the fireworks twinkling in the night sky. He had never felt so wonderful before. End of this chapter, Chapter 80 for a New Year, Menma and Naruto. Chapter 80 for a New Year, Menma and Naruto. Hey, Menma-kun, don't you feel lonely living in such a big house all by yourself? On the veranda, Naruto, wrapped in a red scarf, exhaled white breath that dispersed in the winter night. He peered out at the unfamiliar house, its spacious veranda and Japanese-style rooms appearing eerily quiet even from the outside. Naruto had known Menma for about half a year, but this was the first time he had come to Menma's house to play. On several occasions when I lingered on the street corner, I always heard the neighbors talking. The owner of this courtyard seems to be some kind of big businessman who is away doing business all year round, and only his adopted son lives here. So Naruto noticed that the room behind Menma was not only much larger than his own apartment, but also much emptier, and he could even hear some echoes. "Are you lonely?" Menma sat on the edge of the veranda, supporting herself with her hands behind her back, leaning back and looking up at the fireworks blooming in the night sky. "Actually, it's all right. Having lived 2 or 3 lives, Menma has a very mature mindset and is already used to spending the new year alone. In the first few years when I was in the orphanage, although the children were noisy, it was quite lively. Yakashi Nanu would also prepare New Year's gifts for the children. As for the 15 years in the Limited Tsukuyomi world, Menma always felt it was all an illusion, that Obito had cast a genjutsu on him to keep him quiet. However, his very existence remains inexplicable. "And you, Naruto?" Menma, still leaning back, turned his head to look at Naruto's perpetually sunny and cheerful face. "How are you doing on your own?" When asked about himself, Naruto felt a warm feeling in his heart. He scratched the back of his head and grinned, saying, "I'm fine. Although I don't have parents, I've always lived alone. I'm used to spending holidays alone." Children in the Naruto world are generally precocious, so it's not surprising that 4-year-old Naruto would say such a thing. Gugu tilde tilde, a series of gurgling sounds, came from Naruto's abdomen, making him blush slightly. "Let's go, I haven't had dinner yet, let's eat together." Menma stood up and opened the sliding door. Naruto also stood up, and his eyes lit up when he saw the dishes covered by the dishcloth on the table. "Please sit down first, I'll go heat up the food." Menma opened the dish cover, touched the plate with his hand, and found that the food was already a bit cold, so he asked Naruto to wait. These dishes were all specially prepared for Menma by the women we hired today. There were both hot and cold dishes. After all, the two women also have their own families, and they need to go home to reunite with their families during the Chinese New Year. After having them prepare some food, Menma gave each of them a red envelope and told them to go home early to celebrate the New Year with their families. The two women felt somewhat guilty and prepared a lot of exquisite and delicious food. Menma initially thought it was a bit too much, and that she couldn't finish all the dishes by herself, and that most of them would go to waste. Naruto's arrival is just in time. Naruto, who had been invited, carefully took off his shoes and walked into the restaurant. He looked around curiously, then slowly climbed onto the chair next to the table. Naruto remarked that compared to his own home, this house was much bigger, with a dedicated dining room and kitchen. A short while later, Menma heated up several dishes in the microwave, then found 2 sets of bowls and chopsticks in the kitchen and began to set them out. Naruto watched Menma bustling around in the restaurant and kitchen with a look of longing throughout. After placing a bowl of boiled rice cakes in front of Naruto, Menma returned to his seat. The 2 4-year-old children were too small for the tables and chairs. Naruto even had to stand on the chair. "Do you remember what we say before we eat?" Menma asked Naruto, who was standing to the side. Naruto laughed, clasping his hands together, his voice louder than fireworks. "Let's dig in." Menma also put his hands together and said, "I'm starting to eat." After the pre-meal ritual, the two picked up their bowls and chopsticks and began to feast. Naruto, who always lived alone, rarely had the chance to eat such fresh and hot food. He hurriedly ate this and that. Seeing that Naruto was eating mostly meat, Menma pushed a plate of vegetables in front of him. Being picky about food is not good. Remember to eat more vegetables. Naruto, who was eating a piece of beef, was taken aback when he saw the vegetables being pushed towards him. This feeling of being cared for made Naruto's nose turn red. "Oh, thank you, Menma-san." Naruto whimpered, then picked up some vegetables and gulped them down. So delicious. Although he used to hate eating vegetables, the feeling of being cared for at this moment was really wonderful. The land of the Sarutobi tribe. After finishing his dinner, Hiruzen Sarutobi added some tobacco to his pipe, lit it, and walked towards his study while puffing out clouds of smoke. Behind them, in the kitchen and living room, the eldest daughter-in-law was busy cleaning up the mess, while the eldest son sat on the sofa reading the newspaper. Since his wife Biwako sacrificed herself in the Nine-Tails attack, his youngest son has been running away from home due to escalating conflicts with him. Now, Hiruzen Sarutobi always feels like something is missing from this house. Back in his study, Hiruzen Sarutobi went behind his desk, placed a crystal ball on it, and began to use his telescope technique. It'll be good to see what Naruto is doing. I hope he's not too lonely. On the crystal ball in front of Hiruzen Sarutobi, Naruto's figure gradually began to appear. This room doesn't seem like Naruto's house. Hiruzen Sarutobi quickly noticed the anomaly. Only when he raised the crystal ball's field of vision did he see a small figure across the dining table. "Did you go to play with Menma?" "Oh, right, little Menma is an orphan too." Hiruzen Sarutobi remembered that the wealthy merchant who adopted Menma was too busy with business to come back and live there for long periods of time. Seeing that there were only Naruto and Menma, 2 children, in such a big house, Hiruzen Sarutobi felt a pang of heartache. However, when he saw the table full of dishes on the 2 children's table, which was even more abundant than his own, Hiruzen Sarutobai's old face broke into a smile again. It seems that allowing Menma and Naruto to interact is a good choice. Hiruzen Sarutobai stroked his pipe, clearly aware of Naruto's experiences in the village. He also knew who was behind the rumors that Naruto was the incarnation of the Nine-Tailed Fox. However, Hiruzen Sarutobai could not reveal Naruto's true identity to the outside world. Minato killed quite a few ninjas during the Third Shinobi World War and had enemies in various ninja villages. Moreover, Naruto is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Hiruzen Sarutobai felt that, although this kind of growth was somewhat difficult, he believed that Naruto would definitely grow up healthy. In 2 more years, Naruto will be 6 years old, and it will be time for him to go to the Ninja Academy. Hiruzen Sarutobai pondered, noting that each clan had members of the same age as Naruto. Their generation can start cultivating friendships in school. Naruto also needs a qualified teacher to instruct him on the will of fire. Menma, Hiruzen Sarutobai stared at the child in the crystal ball, recalling the report he made 3 days ago when he applied for the adoption of this child. The presence of fire-style chakra in the chakra test indicates that he possesses ninja talent, making him a suitable candidate for admission to the Ninja Academy. Suddenly, in the crystal ball image, Menma looked up at the ceiling, then lowered his head again to continue eating. Your perception isn't bad either. Hiruzen Sarutobai put down his pipe, exhaled a puff of smoke, and smiled with a profound look in his eyes. End of this chapter, Chapter 85, Konoha Year 55, An Encounter with Tono Kazusuke. Chapter 85, Konoha Year 55, An Encounter with Tono Kazusuke. On the first day after the new year, a heavy snow fell, covering Konoha village in a layer of white. In the shadows of Menma's mansion, an ANBU ninja stood silently, watching Naruto, who was fast asleep in the Japanese-style room. Because of the sudden heavy snowfall last night, Menma let Naruto stay overnight. The two played video games all night until dawn, when they finally fell asleep in the warm Japanese-style room. The house in Myanmar has central heating, so the whole house is warm and cozy in winter. The technological level of the ninja world is still too strange. While many countries are still in the feudal agricultural era, ninja villages are already using modern technology products, and even have things like computers and walkie-talkies. Naruto slept until midday, and only slowly woke up after the snow had stopped. After waking up, Naruto wiped his eyes and looked around at the unfamiliar surroundings and the different bedding on him, still feeling a little confused. Oh, you're awake? It's lunchtime. Have some food and I'll take you home in a bit. Myanmar, who was in the kitchen, poked her head out after hearing the noise. Go wash up first. Seeing Menma reminded Naruto that he had been bored at home alone yesterday because it was New Year's Day, so he came to Menma to play. He then had a lavish meal at Menma's place that he had never had before and played video games all night. Still somewhat dazed, Naruto followed Menma's directions to the bathroom and quickly washed up. The feeling of wiping his face with a towel, dampened with warm water, made Naruto feel much more awake. After Naruto wrung out the towel and hung it up, he looked at himself in the mirror on the sink and suddenly felt an urge to cry. Having always lived alone, he had never experienced being cared for, and he didn't know what a home was. Although I've only known Menma for about half a year and have only met him a few times, I always feel a strange sense of closeness when I'm with him. Naruto washed his face with warm water to cover up his tears before coming out of the bathroom. On the dining table were 2 steaming bowls of ramen, with Naruto swaying gently in the clear broth. This bowl with Naruto rolls is yours, and this bowl with dried bamboo shoots is mine, Menma said, gesturing for Naruto to sit down. After dinner, Menma escorted Naruto home. The two walked together on the village streets, which were covered in snow, breathing out warm air as they chatted. It seems that the 3rd Hokage has become my guardian. He sends me living expenses every month. Naruto rubbed his hands together. Perhaps because he was wearing many layers of clothing in winter and had his hair covered by a hat, the passers-by around him did not recognize him or show him much malice. This made things much easier for Naruto. The third Hokage, Menma, recalled the sudden appearance of Hiruzen Sarutobi when he and Hinata went to Naruto's secret base with him last year. To be honest, Menma didn't have a good impression of the third generation. The main reason is that the contrast between the third Hokage before and after his time travel in the Naruto anime, I watched before the time travel, was too great, and there were many things in the plot that couldn't be explained. Although Kishimoto later drew Shimura Danzo and Root to take the blame. However, due to the stark contrast, many readers did not buy it. Yes, he also chats with me and asks about my life. Naruto doesn't know why the third Hokage became his guardian, but having an elder he can rely on is something that young Naruto cherishes very much. Menma scoffed coldly twice. The third Hokage's actions were too contradictory, and he was too lenient with Orochimaru and Danzo. Orochimaru's Konoha crush plan ironically enhanced the third Hokage's reputation. Otherwise, considering the things the third Hokage did during his long reign, to put it nicely, it was a greed for power and the Hokage position. To put it bluntly, it blocked the upward mobility of young people. Menma sensed the third Hokage secretly watching him yesterday, presumably using the crystal ball to monitor Naruto's every move. As the two walked and talked, they came across a department store that was having a big New Year's promotion. Menma suddenly stopped. Naruto, exclaimed A, and followed Menma's gaze. A slightly chubby child wearing glasses was happily walking out of a department store, carrying various electronic products in his hands. Naruto noticed that the department store was called Kado Department Store. Menma walked over and asked a shop assistant at the entrance, what was the name of that child just now? Young Master Menma. The shop assistant bowed respectfully, then looked at the child who had just left and said, I think his name is Tono Fusuke. He often comes to our store to buy electronic toys and small experimental supplies. So it really was him? He looks only 10 years old. Menma compared the child from earlier with Dr. Tono Katasuke, who had become a special jonin in his memories, and basically confirmed that it was him. But he should have a complete family now, so it might be a bit difficult to abduct him. Menma stared into the direction where Tono Hasuke had disappeared, lost in thought. The Naruto world is already lacking in scientists, and talents like Tono Kakusuke are even rarer. If we had to rank them, Tono Kakusuke's research capabilities could be said to be second only to Tabarama Senju and Orochimaru, both of whom were all-around scientists. Others, such as Zai, Beilyuhu, and Shenang, all had some limitations, focusing more on research in a specific field. Those scientific ninja tools are simply insane. If they could be mass-produced and used to equip genin, any genin could unleash the fighting power of a chunin. When used properly, chunin can also exert combat power close to that of jonin. The pre-prepared ninjutsu scrolls are loaded into scientific ninja tools like cannonballs. The ninja who uses them only needs to have enough chakra to trigger the scientific ninja tools. If scientific ninja tools were simplified and made lighter, resembling rifles, and only required to fire shuriken, kunai, or some minor ninjutsu, Menma could already imagine the military revolution that the birth and mass production of scientific ninja tools would bring to the ninja world. Hey, Menma, is this your family's shopping mall? Naruto's exclamation brought Menma back to her senses. Menma turned around and saw Naruto with stars in his eyes. He then discovered that the department store was holding a New Year's event, with various ribbons and slogans hanging everywhere, and long queues forming at the entrance. Remembering how Naruto was often discriminated against by shop owners when buying daily necessities, who would either refuse to sell him items or sell him expired ones, Menma asked the shop assistants to call over the mall's general manager. Young Master Menma, what can I do for you? A short while later, a short man dressed in a suit and leather shoes, with a scar on his left eyebrow, strode over. Ryo Morita worked with Kato in business for many years, and was said to have been a wandering samurai in his early years. This is Naruto Uzumaki, my little brother. From now on, when he comes to the mall to buy things, don't give him any trouble. Menma clenched his right fist and pointed his thumb at Naruto behind him. "All right, young master," Morita Ryo said enthusiastically. He did not neglect the two children. Before leaving, Kato gave him special instructions, and even the funds of the entire Kato shopping mall were under the control of this young master. Moreover, he came from outside the village, so he wouldn't discriminate against or have any prejudice against Naruto. Let's go shopping next time. Menma originally wanted to take Naruto to buy some daily necessities, but seeing that the mall was having a promotion and there were so many people, he didn't want to squeeze into the crowd. End of this chapter. Chapter 86, The Cold Cicada Project. Chapter 86, The Cold Cicada Project. The capital of the Bear Kingdom is located east of the U River. The buildings of the new Star Ninja Village rose from the ground, and the entire urban area was designated as a military control zone, with eye-catching prohibitions posted on the gray and white high walls. The patrolling Star Ninja kept any civilians who tried to approach outside the cordon. Nameless lady. The prison iron gate opened with a screeching sound, and the two Star Ninjas guarding the gate bowed respectfully to the black-haired girl. Uchiha Hikaru continued walking inside expressionlessly, his footsteps echoing in the long, dark corridor. The dim light in the detention cell cast Kakuzu's strong figure onto the stone wall as he idly counted his salary that had just been paid this month, as well as the subsidies he received for guarding the prison. A rare guest indeed. The musty smell of the dungeon can't compare to the sunlight above ground. Kakuzu's hoarse voice came from beneath his mask. The Higurashi project can begin now. You haven't forgotten, have you? Uchiha Hikaru tilted his head slightly and glanced at Kakuzu, who was counting money. The two Anbu ninjas in the corner unconsciously straightened their backs. Has another year passed outside? Kakuzu put away the money, took out a bunch of keys, and led Uchiha Hikaru deeper into the prison. For Kakuzu, the thing he has no shortage of is time, and the thing he cares about the least is also time. In addition, he has been in charge of prison guard duties for a long time and has not been on the ground for a long time, so it is normal that he does not know what life is like outside. The two walked one after the other into the dark depths of the dungeon, and soon Kakuzu stopped at a cell. Uchiha Hikaru turned his head and saw that Pakura from Sunagakure was sitting cross-legged on a pile of hay, her hands and feet bound by iron chains. Sensing someone's arrival, Yekeng suddenly looked up, the chains rattling loudly. During his imprisonment, Yekeng attempted to escape more than once, but each time he was caught by the masked man, whose attack methods were extremely strange. His scorching release ninjutsu requires an attack on the target to evaporate the water in their body and kill them. But this guy called Kakuzu could extend his body like a puppet, so my blazing release couldn't even touch him before I was shattered. It's like a natural enemy of me. As for the black-haired girl beside him, although Yakura had never fought her, she could see a familiar arrogance in her eyes. Just like the Uchiha clan of Konoha. Outside the cell, Uchiha Hikaru and Kakuzu glanced at Yakura a few times before continuing deeper into the dungeon. Soon, the two arrived at another cell. 3 Star Ninjas are imprisoned inside. They are Akahoshi with purple hair, Yataka with a bald head, and Shizo with black hair. They were nailed to the cross and interrogated every day. Now they are in a state of delirium, and the mental torture inflicted by illusions is far greater than the physical torture. These 3 were the traitors who betrayed the Star Village's information and sent out distress requests to the Sand Village, Iwagakure Village, and Konoha Village last time. Last time, Kakuzu arrested more than a dozen Star Ninjas, who still had ulterior motives based on the list given by Menma. After Kakuzu's interrogation and the lie detector test conducted by Uzumaki Vanilla's Kagura Mind's eye perception ability, it was basically confirmed that it was a force lurking inside, led by these 3. These 3 were just minor characters at the bottom of the Jonin hierarchy. This time, we'll use these guys to create a nest. How many? As a member of the organization, Kakuzu naturally knew about part of the Higurashi project. Let's send the Sand Village ninjas back first. Just send 1 team. Uchiha Hikaru said after thinking for a moment, let's send the Iwagakure ninjas back in a few days and do it again. All right, then it's up to you. Kakuzu used the key to open the iron door of the cell. Uchiha Hikaru strode in, his Mangekyou Sharingan beginning to bloom beneath his flowing long hair. The same kaleidoscope pattern appeared on the backs of the hands of the 3-star ninja traders. Their heads, which had been unconscious, lifted, their eyes now empty and lifeless. 2 days later, on the border between the Land of Wind and the Land of Bears, Yashimaru, along with 3 other team members including Yura, is heading to a border outpost for a routine patrol mission. Yashimaru-sensei, Yura, whose long hair covered half of her face, suddenly stopped in her tracks. "What's wrong?" Yashimaru quickly raised his hand, signaling the team members to activate their realms. All of them wore standard Sand Village protective gear, with headscarves and face shields, revealing only their eyes. Among them, Yashimaru wore a Jonin vest similar to that of Konoha and was the leader of this patrol team. Since the longsword coup launched by the Star Ninja Village in the Land of Bears last year, which massacred the daimyo and nobles of the Land of Bears, the patrol mission level along the border in this area has soared to B rank. This is even without encountering any enemies. If the number of enemies is small and they are repelled, it will be fine. If the enemy is numerous or very powerful, it's definitely in a level mission, and it might even break out into war. Therefore, Yashimaru, the leader of this patrol team, was also very cautious. There's something unusual at 3 o'clock. Yura reported immediately after using his sensory ninjutsu to investigate, his hands forming hand seals. Everyone prepare for battle. Yashimaru drew his kunai. The others also drew their weapons, one of whom was a puppeteer. The 4-person team headed towards the unusual location that Yura had sensed. Soon, the group saw 3 staggering figures being chased by several star ninjas at the end of the yellow sand ahead. "It's Yakura-senpai and the others." Yura recognized one of them and said in a low voice. Yashimaru confirmed the other party's identity and immediately ordered, "Provide them with backup." Yashimaru was the first to rush out. Yura and the others followed suit. A major battle broke out on the border. Yashimaru's patrol team met up with the 3 escaped members of Yakura and immediately launched an attack on the pursuing troops from Hoshigakure. When Yakura and the other 2 saw that they were their own ninjas, they cooperated in the counterattack. After a fierce battle, the Sand Ninja paid the price of 1 dead and 2 seriously injured, killing the 5-star ninja pursuers. But just as Yashimaru was trying to get information from a captured star ninja, he discovered that the man had already bitten off the poison sac and committed suicide. Yashimaru couldn't help but admire the determination of these star ninjas, and then walked towards Yakura and her group who were resting. "Are you all right?" Yashimaru, as the 4th Keisuke's brother-in-law and a Jonin of Sunagakure, had known Pakura for many years. This is intelligence from Hoshigakure. Yakura struggled to pull a scroll from her ninja tool pouch with her bloodied right hand and handed it to Yashimaru. After saying that, Yakura collapsed, but was fortunately caught by Yashimaru. 2 other sand ninjas in her team were also killed and seriously injured. Seeing the still wet bloodstains on the scroll, Yashimaru immediately ordered his men to carry Yakura and the other person back to the village. End of this chapter. Chapter 87, Turning Yekura into a Spy. Chapter 87, Turning Yekura into a Spy. Sunagakure Village is located in a canyon area in the desert. This secluded village cleverly utilizes the natural canyon as a barrier, keeping out the endless yellow sand and providing conditions for human habitation. There are only 2 ways to enter Sunagakure. One is to pass through the narrow corridor between the canyons and undergo layers of checks by the Sunagakure ninja. The other is to fly directly over the steep cliffs of the canyon from high above. Inside the Keisuke building, Yashimaru was respectfully reporting to the 4th Keisuke, who is also his brother-in-law, Rasa. This scroll has already been examined by Granny Chio. There is no trace of poison or other spells. Yashimaru placed the scroll that Yakura had given him on the Keisuke's table. Rasa was more concerned about the opponent's strength. How strong are those 5-star ninja? After a moment of contemplation, the blonde-haired Yashimaru slowly replied, "One of them is a Jonin, while the others are Chunin and Genin." Overall, they are not very strong. Moreover, the Jonin must have been injured in the previous battle with Yekura and the others. I could sense his weakness during the fight. There was originally a prisoner, but he bit through the poison sac and committed suicide. Our colleagues at the border outpost are transporting the body back, and it is estimated that it will take another 2 days to reach the village. After listening to the report, Luo Sha nodded slightly. Yakura's squad had been out of contact for over 2 months while scouting Hoshigakure, but their sudden return has aroused Ross's suspicion. However, after confirming that there was at least one Jonin and several Chunin and Genin among the pursuers, Rasa relaxed a little. After all, a Jonin's combat strength is top tier in any village, and even if they are used as bait, it is unlikely that they will die in battle. The leader of the special envoy, sent by Kumigakure to Konoha to deliberately cause trouble, was only a special Jonin. You should go and rest first, Rasa said to Yashimaru after understanding the situation. Yes, Yashimaru bowed slightly. Just as he was about to leave, Luo Sha's voice came from behind him again. By the way, Gaara hasn't been doing too well lately. You should spend more time with him. Rasa opened the scroll and covered his face. If he really can't control the one-tailed beast's rampage, for the sake of the village, you know what to do. Upon hearing this, Yashimaru's expression darkened, and he replied with a melancholy look, understood. Boom. The door closed, and Luo Sha, left alone in the office, carefully studied the contents of the scroll. This scroll records the intelligence that Yakura and her group gathered after infiltrating the Land of Bears, including the tragic deaths of the daimyo families in the Land of Bears and how the nobles of the Land of Bears were massacred. Then, Yakura and her group were discovered by the Star Village, surrounded and attacked, and were eventually captured. However, during her 2 months of imprisonment, Yakura discovered that there were also some dissenting voices within Hoshigakure. She was secretly released by some star ninjas, whom we might call conservatives, and managed to rescue her 2 other companions. During their escape, they were pursued by the Star Ninja Pursuit Team. The scroll does not mention the current leader of the Star Ninja Village, but according to the conservatives, the village has undergone significant changes. As for what it has become, that remains to be seen. After reading the information on the scroll, Rasa's panda eyes became even more serious, and his brows furrowed. Although Pakura brought back valuable information, she only made Hoshigakure more mysterious. The leader of the Star Ninja Village has probably changed, and their combat strength is unknown. Moreover, the Hell Valley Chasm blocks most of the border, meaning that to attack Hoshigakure, one must traverse the northern border, specifically the section without Hell Valley. Furthermore, Sunagakure had only recently ceased hostilities and had little support for the war, with the old guard on the advisory board also opposing the resumption of hostilities. The situation of the one-tailed Jinchuriki is also. Truly, these are turbulent times. Luo Sha couldn't help but sigh. At this time, in the Sunagakure village hospital. At the entrance of this hospital, which was built by drawing inspiration from Konoha's medical system, a girl with 2 purple lines on her face rushed over. Yakura's hospital room door was suddenly pushed open. Lying on the hospital bed, Yakura turned her head and looked over. Seeing the panting girl, she forced a gentle smile on her tired face. What's wrong, Maki? Little Juan excitedly rushed forward. Teacher. Seeing his apprentice crying, Yeking gently stroked Ziowan's hair. Isn't he back now? She whispered to comfort her only disciple. During the Third Shinobi World War, Kamaki, whose parents were killed by Kirigakure, was determined to become a ninja. However, she was already 14 or 15 years old at the time, past the best age for learning, so she became a student of Yikang and studied hard. Yakura was also inspired by Kamaki's motivation and effort for revenge, so she took him on as her apprentice and trained him diligently. Even when she was tired after returning from a mission, she would still practice with Kamaki. After several years of training, the 19-year-old Kamaki is now a Chunin, and her talent in sealing techniques has attracted the attention of the village. Zio Huan stopped crying and smiled, took her teacher's hand, and sat down by the hospital bed, showing concern for her teacher's injuries and telling her about the recent situation in the village. Over the next few days, Yekura stayed in the hospital to recover, and Zayawan would bring her teacher a gift every day. Meanwhile, the Sunagakure ANBU would occasionally come to inquire about the situation in the land of bears and the star village from Pakura and another surviving Sunagakure ninja, and would use sensory ninjutsu to investigate the two of them. After it was confirmed that there were no problems, Yi and his companion, whose injuries were gradually recovering, were allowed to leave the hospital and resume normal activities. And the first night, after leaving the hospital, Yekura, who was fast asleep at home, suddenly opened her eyes. His originally brown pupils emitted a faint purple glow, and his eyes became empty. She threw back the covers and sat up, revealing an engraving mark on the back of her right hand. Yekura placed her left hand over the back of her right hand and channeled chakra into it. The mind begins to enter a special illusionary space. Here, it seems as if the sea and sky meet, with the azure starry sky and the ground stretching as far as the eye can see. But there was a table and chair, seemingly waiting for her quietly. Yekeng walked over blankly, pulled out a chair and sat down, picked up the pen on the table, and began to write down various intelligence and secrets about Sunagakure on the scroll. Soon Yekura had filled the scroll with text. This includes the geographical location of Sunagakure, methods of entry and exit, the organizational structure of Sunagakure, the situation of its high-ranking officials, the situation of its anbu, and so on. As Yekura was writing, another table and chair appeared next to her. A ninja with spiky hair, wearing an Iwagakure headband and a Jonin vest, and with equally empty eyes, walked over and began writing down various confidential information about Iwagakure on the table. This person is none other than Kari, the explosion release ninja from Iwagakure who was previously captured by Uzumaki Vanilla. End of this chapter. Chapter 88, Orochimaru and -039, S Invitation. Chapter 88, Orochimaru's Invitation. The capital of the Bear Kingdom. A woman with a blue afro and a tall, ugly-looking man walked side by side on the road leading into the city. This city doesn't even have city walls. The blue-haired woman murmured, gazing at the pedestrians on the road and the gradually clearer outline of the city. Having traveled the ninja world for many years, this was the first time she had ever seen a city without walls. In the war-torn ninja world, whether it's the capital, a large city, a small village, or even a ninja village, there are basically defensive structures such as city walls or fences to protect the core area. In some bustling cities, even outside the city walls, simple thatched huts are built, forming slums. After all, in this chaotic world, larger cities often mean greater safety. At least they wouldn't be easily drawn into wars, and ninja wars rarely involved attacks on cities. Sister Honglian, how should we convey Lord Orochimaru's message? The ugly man had a pair of dull eyes set in deep-set sockets, and his tone was wooden. Crimson Lotus, draped in a green coat, gave a light snort, glancing at the several star ninjas rushing towards them from a distance. She crossed her arms and said, "If that Asura is really here, we can just say so directly." Call out. The 3-star ninjas landed suddenly, their swords still drawn, forming a standoff with Honglian and the other two. State your identities and purpose, you unidentified ninjas, the leading star ninja warned sternly. Seeing this, other pedestrians and travelers in the vicinity quickly moved away, and in the blink of an eye, the road became empty. We are ordered to find Lord Shura. Red Lotus parted her lips slightly, stating her purpose directly. Upon hearing the title Lord Shura, the 3-star ninja's expressions turned serious. Whose orders are you on? Seeing that the other party did not deny it, Guren knew that she had come to the right place and said directly, Orochimaru-sama's orders. The leader Zingran gave his companions a wink. Soon, Honglian and Niu too were taken into Zingran village, or rather, Zingran base. As she walked, Honglian observed the surrounding buildings and conditions, discovering that a river divided the city in two, creating a stark contrast. Scattered across the vast plains west of the river are civilian buildings and numerous residential areas, while in the distant farmland, some busy people seem to be using their off-season to construct new water conservancy facilities. On the east side of the river is a cluster of buildings with gray and white as the main colors, and the people coming and going are mostly ninjas and officials in uniform. Vanilla Whirlpool found one of Menma's shadow clones and reported the situation. Orochimaru's people. Menma, the shadow clone, was left here specifically for communication. Normally, he mainly listens to reports from Vanilla Whirlpool and Kato on government affairs and construction progress, and then issues some orders and instructions. Let them in. Menma hesitated for a moment, then put on a white three-eyed fox mask and sat down in the main seat. When Gyuren and Niu too were let in, an even greater pressure than Orochimaru's swept over them, forcing them to kneel on one knee. Seeing the mysterious masked man sitting in the main seat, Honglian forced herself to remain calm and presented a scroll. Lord Shura, we are here to deliver this scroll to you on Lord Orochimaru's orders. Menma gestured for Uzumaki Vanilla to bring the scroll over, secretly thinking that the two of them must be close to the level of Jonin to have managed to maintain their composure under his pressure. After thinking about it carefully, it seems that these two were sent by Orochimaru to capture the Three Tails with a kid. You can't do it without some strength. Orochimaru's judgment is pretty accurate, isn't it? Menma estimated that when news of the upheaval in Hoshigakure of the Land of Bears spread, Orochimaru had already guessed who was behind it all. However, the reason he sent Honglian here was definitely not just to deliver a message. Menma took the scroll from Xuanwo Zienkao and opened it to take a look. In the scroll, Orochimaru mentioned that the research on the Ibri clan had made some breakthrough progress, but the previously stored flesh and hair of the Ibri clan had been used up. He was asked to go to the land of rice fields to retrieve the research results and send some flesh and hair over as well. Secondly, Orochimaru hoped to establish a base in the land of bears. He was interested in the poisonous gas of Hell Valley and the meteorite from the Hidden Star Village and wanted to study them. Finally, Orochimaru, intending to go to Kirigakure, extended an invitation to him to travel with him. As expected, Menma put away the scroll and looked down at the red lotus. He only vaguely remembered that this person seemed to be Orochimaru's subordinate and one of Orochimaru's potential vessels, but later other vessels came along, so he never got to use him. It seems she was in charge of one of Orochimaru's bases, and after failing to capture the Three Tails, she went into seclusion with a kid. It seems that Naruto visited Konoha when he got married. There's no need to establish a separate base. I'll just arrange an experimental building for you, Menma said firmly. He didn't want any uncontrolled strongholds on his territory, especially since there might be human experiments inside. Honglian opened her mouth as if to say something, but then stopped, ultimately overwhelmed by the oppressive aura emanating from the mysterious masked man before her, and could only lower her head and say, "Yes, sir." Menma speculates that Orochimaru wanted to establish a contact point here, so he sent Gyuren, the former #1 candidate for the reanimation jutsu. After letting Vanilla take Red Lotus and Bullhead down, Menma also got up and headed deeper into the base. Deep beneath this base, the Ibri clan, who have already relocated, are busily building their new home. Lord Shura, when Menma arrived at the floor where the Ibri clan lived underground, he was greeted with enthusiastic cheers. The conditions here are much better than the tree hollows they dug before, and the ground is a city with no shortage of supplies, which are delivered to them. However, this relentless demand caused some hidden worry among the Ibri clan, because the instability of their bloodline limit prevented them from engaging in activities in the sunlight. The guilt of not being able to serve Lord Shura and repay his kindness lingered in my heart. Wu Tai and Zhu Jian, having changed into new clothes, stepped forward respectfully. "My lord, what are your orders?" "Orochimaru has made some progress in his research on your clan's bloodline limits. I need some of your clan's blood, skin cells, hair samples, etc." Menma stated his purpose directly. Upon hearing that it was about Orochimaru's research progress, Gota showed disgust, but since it was for the sake of his clan being able to walk in the sunlight, he immediately summoned his clansmen. Menma collected their blood, skin tissue, and hair, and put them in test tubes. Since the Ibri clan moved here, Menma's shadow clones have also been researching the Ibri clan's bloodline limit. But the progress has been relatively slow, far slower than Orochimaru's insane dissections. Respectfully bidding farewell to Lord Shura. As they parted, Wu Tai led the entire clan in kneeling on one knee, watching Lord Shura's figure disappear into the corridor. End of this chapter, Chapter 89, Research Findings on the Ibri Clan. Chapter 89, Research Findings on the Ibri Clan Hidden Leaf Village. Menma, who was playing with Hinata and Naruto in the park building a snowman, suddenly paused. The shadow clone had already placed the items at home using the Flying Thunder God technique, and then deactivated itself, allowing a massive amount of information to flood Menma's mind. Hinata keenly noticed Menma's unusual behavior, and concern appeared in her snow-white eyes. Naruto, however, was completely oblivious and kept sticking a twig into the snowman's head as a nose. "It's okay, let's keep playing." Menma shook his head, indicating to Hinata not to worry, and continued playing the snowman building game with them. Menma is now the king of the kids in this park. The kids around him either avoid him or acknowledge him as their leader. Even Naruto occasionally gets to be treated kindly by the kids his age. Of course, this is on the premise that the adults of those children are not present. This at least prevented Naruto's childhood from being so lonely. After Naruto attends the Ninja Academy in 2 years, Shikamaru, Choji, and the other descendants of the ninja clans will no longer discriminate against him, and Naruto will be able to make more friends. "Menma-kun, look," Naruto exclaimed. Menma and Hinata looked over and saw that Naruto had taken off his own red scarf and wrapped it around the snowman. "You've gotten the scarf dirty. It'll take days to dry after you wash it." Menma vaguely remembered that this scarf was something Kushina had knitted for Naruto. "It's okay, I have another scarf at home, though it's a darker color." Naruto grinned, not caring at all. This question startled Menma. "There's another one." Naruto nodded, and after thinking for a while, he said it's not just the scarf, but also the clothes, hats, and stuff. "There's one that's a darker color, I don't know why." Upon hearing this, Menma's heart skipped a beat. So, Kushina and Minato were prepared for 2 children. Menma lowered his head and gently bit his gums. He didn't know why the 3rd Hokage hadn't searched for the 4th Hokage couple's missing children, nor had he investigated the extra orphans that appeared on the night of the Nine-Tails rampage. However, it now appears that Kushina was indeed pregnant with twins and had prepared clothes and other items for both children. "I wasn't born into the limited Tsukuyomi world. Instead, my body came first, and I was conceived and born by Kushina before entering the limited Tsukuyomi." So, was it Obito who was behind this? Sigrun has taught at the Iceland University of the Arts as a part-time lecturer since, and was dean of the Department of Fine Art from. She held a research position at Reykjavik Art Museum, focusing on the role of women in Icelandic art. She studied fine art at the Icelandic College of Arts and Crafts and at Pratt Institute, New York, and holds BA and MA degrees in art history and philosophy from the University of Iceland. Sigrun lives and works in Iceland. After parting ways with Naruto and Hinata, Menma returned home and took a sample from the Ibri clan. Using the Flying Thunder God technique, they arrived at the secret base in the land of rice fields. As Menma, wearing a white 3-eyed fox mask, appeared in Odagakure, his black robe brushing against the snow at the village entrance, the sky had already completely darkened. Now the village is completely under Orochimaru's control, and the villagers depend on Orochimaru's power to survive. In such turbulent times, villages protected by ninjas were extremely rare. Orochimaru also looked down on these ordinary people. He only wanted the villagers to produce some basic necessities. Lord Shura, the red-haired girl at the village entrance, had been waiting for an unknown amount of time when she finally saw Shura walking out of the darkness. She went up to him somewhat nervously. "Lead the way." Menma looked down at Tayuya, who, like Orochimaru's other subordinates, had already wrapped a Shimenawa around his waist. Many of Orochimaru's subordinates are orphans and troubled children who have a strong admiration for him and are even willing to offer their bodies to become his vessels. This kind of brainwashing-like ideological education was a crucial cornerstone for Orochimaru's establishment of the Sound Village. Yes, Takuya bowed slightly and then led the way. Compared to last year, there are many more buildings in the village this time, and the entrance to Orochimaru's underground base has also changed drastically. Entering from a wooden building in the village and passing through a downward-sloping passageway, Menma once again arrived at Orochimaru's base. In some of the cages, various experimental subjects are still imprisoned, and the air is filled with the smell of blood and disinfectant. Beneath the white mask, his brows furrowed slightly. So you really were in the land of bears. Orochimaru, disguised as a woman, emerged from a laboratory, pleased with his correct guess. Where is the stuff? Menma walked up to Orochimaru, crossed his arms, and slightly raised his white three-eyed fox mask to meet Orochimaru's gaze. Orochimaru snorted twice, stepped aside, and gestured for Menma to follow him into the laboratory. After Menma entered Orochimaru's laboratory, Orochimaru began to explain. Thanks to the white zetsu you provided, I used its cellular tissue to neutralize the genes of the Ibri clan, thus achieving free control over the smoke transformation. However, these have all been done on flesh and blood tissue, and no human experiments have been conducted yet. If you could provide a few Ibri people. Orochimaru was interrupted by Menma before he could finish speaking. It's not at the point where we can conduct human experiments yet, came the voice of refusal from behind the white three-eyed fox mask. Orochimaru frowned slightly upon hearing Shura's reply. Shura, aren't you a little too concerned about the life and death of the Ibri clan? Orochimaru's golden vertical pupils narrowed slightly. He couldn't understand why a top-tier powerhouse like Shura, who could wreak havoc in Konoha and Kimimaro, would value a weak clan so much. Orochimaru, do you know what the biggest difference is between you and the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju? Menma tilted his head slightly, his white three-eyed fox mask looking at Orochimaru behind him. Aside from strength, I might not be as good as him. In the field of scientific research, I don't think I'm inferior to the second Hokage in any way. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue and licked his cheek, very confident in his achievements in scientific research. That's the bottom line, Orochimaru. However, Shura's seemingly casual words struck Orochimaru's heart like a hammer blow. Orochimaru's pupils dilated slightly as he recalled various pieces of information about the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju. This second-generation leader, who is also a scientific research expert, seems to have never conducted experiments on living people. Even in his attitude towards the Uchiha clan, he was better than the current third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. After all, Tobirama Senju also took an Uchiha as his disciple. The second Hokage, probably, genuinely wanted to change the Uchiha clan. Let's not talk about this anymore. Orochimaru suddenly grinned, walked to a cabinet next to an experimental table, took out a scroll from it, and tossed it to Menma. What are your thoughts on the meteorite and Hell Valley matters? Orochimaru then mentioned his plan to establish a base in the land of bears. There's no need to establish a new base. I'll just assign your people an experimental building at my base in the land of bears. Menma opened the scroll, glanced at the research data, and nodded slightly. It was roughly the same as his own research direction, only the progress was much faster. After closing and storing the scroll, Menma took out a storage scroll and tossed it to Orochimaru. It doesn't matter. I'm just interested in the meteorite and the poison gas in Hell Valley. Orochimaru caught the storage scroll and put it directly into his mouth. As he said, the poison gas and meteorites in Hell Valley were only meant to satisfy Orochimaru's curiosity until a greater use was discovered. So, how about the trip to Kirigakure? After swallowing the storage scroll, Orochimaru licked his lips and extended an invitation to Shura. End of this chapter, Chapter 90, Zio Nan-039, S. First Encounter with Hydrangeas. Chapter 90, Zio Nan's First Encounter with Hydrangeas. Orochimaru has been eyeing Kirigakure for a long time. Since the end of the Third Shinobi World War, after Yagura Karatachi succeeded as the fourth Mizukage, He implemented a policy of oppression against clans with bloodline limits, as well as various inexplicable policies, which made the entire village very chaotic and caused many excellent ninjas to be lost. Several members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist have defected, including Juzo Biwa and Reiga Kurisuke. Do you have any intelligence? Menma had reason to suspect that Orochimaru had spies operating in Kirigakure. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to find Kaguya Kimimaro so accurately and capture Hazuki Suijutsu. Tusk, I do have some information. Orochimaru snorted lightly, a subtle hint of smugness in his voice. Even a powerful ninja like Shura, who came from the future, couldn't grasp the information about the Blood Mist Village. When should we go? Menma also figured out that now was the perfect time to kidnap people from the Blood Mist Village. They couldn't let Orochimaru kidnap everyone. Even setting aside Kimimaro, we should at least try to bring Shiro over. Then let's do it in 3 days. Orochimaru's face was full of smiles. The Blood Mist Village is very dangerous now. Even a strong person like Orochimaru would have to run away if he were discovered after infiltrating there. That's why he tried to get Shura involved. After all, Shura's battle record is verifiable throughout the entire ninja world, and Konoha and Kimigakure still maintain a warrant for his arrest. Orochimaru even had some rumors that the bombing of Kusagakure was also the work of this Asura. All right, I'll be waiting for you in the Land of Waves in 3 days. Menma nodded and turned to leave. The Land of Water is a country composed of many islands. Although Kirigakure has adopted a policy of isolation, the Land of Water has not closed itself off. Therefore, there are many ways to get there. The simplest way is to take a boat directly from the coastal port to the port of the Land of Water. Then infiltrate Kirigakure village by land or sea. Rain Village was shrouded in a misty rain. Disguised by a transformation spell, Conan, holding an oil paper umbrella, walked through the dimly lit market, stepping through the still damp alleyways. The damp air was filled with the smells of mildew and decay, much like the war-ravaged country. Hey, get out of here, you brat. A man's gruff shout pierced the sound of rain, catching Zaio Nan's attention. She looked in the direction of the sound and saw a butcher viciously driving away several ragged orphans. Such scenes are common in the Land of Rain, or rather, orphans are common in the Land of Rain. Sandwiched between the 3 great nations of the Land of Wind, the Land of Earth, and the Land of Fire, the Land of Rain has been subject to interference and influence from foreign ninjas for many years. It was one of the main battlegrounds in the 3 Shinobi World Wars, and it can be said that the people of the Land of Rain have become accustomed to the pain of losing loved ones. The scene was so familiar, reminding Conan of 10 years ago when she, Yahiko, and Nagato huddled together in the ruins. Carrying a basket, she inexplicably followed the group of children. After the little devils turned into an alley, she deliberately dropped a bag of food on the ground. Raindrops pattered on the oil paper package, making a soft, rustling sound. But before she could get far, a clear voice called out from behind, "Big sister." Zaio Nan turned around in surprise. "You dropped your things." A purple-haired girl stood barefoot in the muddy rain, her tattered umbrella offering no protection from the torrential downpour. The girl was shockingly thin. Her ribs were clearly visible under her thin clothes, and her stomach even growled involuntarily because of the aroma of food. But her innocent eyes reminded Zaio Nan of a former companion. She turned around and said indifferently, "It's dirty, I don't want it anymore." Then Zaio Nan disappeared in an instant. As it disappeared, the water droplets it left behind traced sparkling arcs in the air. As the older sister in front of her suddenly disappeared, the little hydrangea showed a longing expression. Clutching the bag of food, I walked towards my friends. "Wow, I knew that guy wouldn't want it." "Quickly open it and see what it is. It smells so good." "Don't grab any, leave some for me." I want it too. Zaio Nan stood on a high floor of a building not far away, watching the little girl with purple hair go back to share the food with her friends, and a warm feeling seemed to flow through her heart. Back at the secret base, Conan began preparing meals for Nagato. Now that Nagato's legs are both broken, and he has to provide chakra nourishment for the 6 Paths demon statue, Conan has to take care of his daily life. That Madara guy hasn't been back for a long time, has he? Nagato's weak voice came from behind Conan after the meal. It's been almost half a month. Xiao Nan collected the food scraps. It seems that Shura from last time left him with quite a shadow. Nagato's weak voice was laced with sarcasm as he recalled the injured return of the guy who called himself Uchiha Madara last year. That guy who calls himself Uchiha Madara, and that guy who exclaimed, "Amazing, they're clearly not good people." When Madara Uchiha approached the Akatsuki seeking cooperation, Yahiko refused outright, saying he didn't seem like a good person. After Yahiko's death, Nagato chose to cooperate with them, but while he was trying to get something out of them, he was also constantly on guard against these two. Zetsu said that Shura is a Uchiha clansman who had been living away from home and is very strong, but he didn't provide any other information. Conan didn't know much about Uchiha Madara's strength, but since he called himself Uchiha Madara and had gone to Konoha to cause the Nine-Tails attack, even Nagato was somewhat wary of his intangibility ability. Therefore, the Shura who was able to injure Uchiha Madara naturally became the focus of Nagato and Conan's attention. Furthermore, because the other side has ninjas with very strong sensory abilities, Zetsu has indicated that he will no longer send White Zetsu to approach Hoshigakure, Conan added. Heth, I know, Nagato chuckled coldly. That guy is urging me to take care of Shura. Although Nagato's 6 paths of pain was not yet fully completed, it was still quite easy to deal with some cage-level powerhouses when combined with the Rinnegan. However, he did not intend to follow the ideas of Uchiha Madara and Zetsu and go to the land of bears to fight a Shura who was equally strong. It seems they are indeed very wary of Shura's power. Conan thought this was a good thing. Having a powerful external enemy would allow Uchiha Madara and Zetsu to better serve the Akatsuki organization. As Conan finished dealing with these miscellaneous tasks and continued helping Nagato create the 6 paths of pain, a pitcher plant sprouted from the ground. Yo Chief, it's Xiao Nan. The person in white greeted the two. Where did Ban go? Xiao Nan asked first. They should have gone to Kirigakure. You know, I have to go there every month to strengthen my control over Yagura's genjutsu, Zetsu replied. The last time they went to Kirigakure to find suitable members to join the organization, they happened to run into Yagura, who was preparing to return to the village from outside. After defeating Yagura, Madara used genjutsu to control Yagura and the 3 tails inside him, which gave Nagato and Conan some initial understanding of Madara's strength. The Hidden Mist Village, Conan murmured. The current tyranny in the village of Blood Mist is the work of that guy, Madara. I don't know how much hatred he has for Kirigakure, but he's been plotting against Kirigakure for so many years. End of this chapter, Chapter 91 Teaming Up with Snake Ant. Chapter 91 Teaming Up with Snake Ant. The Land of Waves is a small island located in the eastern sea of the Land of Fire, adjacent to the Land of Fire and the Eastern Sea Kingdom, and shrouded in humid sea fog all year round. During the Third Shinobi World War, the Land of Waves was also one of the battlefields where Konoha and Kirigakure fought. Although the war is over, the wounds left by the smoke of battle have not yet healed, and this small island nation has not yet returned to the peace and stability it had before the war. Instead, it became even more chaotic due to various factors such as pirates, bandits, wandering samurai, and rogue ninjas. This also created the conditions for the Kato group to monopolize trade in the Land of Waves a few years later. On the coast of the Land of Waves, Menma, wearing a white 3-eyed fox mask and a black robe billowing in the sea breeze, walked along the coast. Ahead lay a small city, but he did not go to the city. Instead, he stood on the shore gazing at the strait. From here, you can even vaguely see the outline of the continent opposite through the sea fog. 8 years from now, Team 7 will encounter Zabuza and Haku here, engage in a fierce battle, and build a bridge across the sea, the Naruto Bridge. So the technology tree is really strange. This country is still in the feudal era, but it can build a bridge that spans more than 10 kilometers, Menma complained. In Kagura's mind's eye, a familiar chakra was gradually approaching. The sound of wooden clogs, stepping on the sand, could be heard through the thin mist. The white three-eyed fox mask tilted its head slightly, and a figure was slowly walking towards them. "Have you kept me waiting?" Orochimaru, dressed as a noblewoman, walked slowly in, his golden vertical pupils flashing behind his disheveled long hair. Going to Kirigakure is a bit dangerous, so she didn't bring any subordinates. The fewer people there are, the lower the risk of being exposed, and the easier it is to escape. That ship is heading to the land of water. Menma gestured to Orochimaru to look at a ship docked in the port of that small coastal city. Orochimaru followed the gaze and saw the flag of the Kato group on the ship, faintly visible in the thin mist. The two displayed their skills. Orochimaru used illusion magic to control the crew on the ship, successfully boarding it as a nobleman and even getting a nice room. Menma jumped directly onto the ship and joined Orochimaru. After 2 days of twists and turns, the ship gradually approached the coast of the land of water. The sudden clash of ninja techniques in the fog caused the passengers on the ship to press themselves against the railing, gazing at the several figures fighting on the foggy sea and discussing among themselves. When Menma and Orochimaru stepped out of the cabin, they overheard the ordinary people discussing something. They seemed to be ninjas. How many times has this happened this month? I have traveled to the land of water 5 times and have witnessed this kind of thing 3 times already. Tisk tisk, just don't come and cause trouble for us ordinary people. Orochimaru stared at the figures fighting on the sea surface in the mist, his vertical golden eyes glowing slightly. It seems that the situation in Kirigakure is worse than we thought, with defections happening one after another. He glanced sideways at the silent Shura beside him, but only saw the fox mask reflecting the hazy skylight, which made Orochimaru somewhat uninterested. After the ship docked, the two disappeared into the noisy crowd. After the last Great War, the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist have not been fully replenished. It is said that some of them even defected with their swords. So, what we need to pay attention to are the bloodline limit families in the Mist Village and the Mizukage Anbu. The two walked towards the Mist Village, and Orochimaru explained the current situation of the Mist Village. So, should we act together or split up? Orochimaru tossed aside his long hair, his golden vertical pupils fixed on Shura. At this moment, Menma was using Kagura's mind's eye to sense the chakra within a radius of 100 kilometers. He vaguely remembered that Haku was not born in Kirigakure, but in a small village where it snowed all year round. Because his mother was from the Yuki clan, he awakened the ice release Keke Genkai, but was regarded as an omen of bad luck by his father and the villagers. Even when his father organized the villagers to surround and kill Haku's mother, and was about to kill young Haku as well, Haku, in a panic, used ice release to kill everyone. From then on, Bai became an orphan, wandering the streets and alleys of the Water Kingdom. Menma guessed that Shiro's whereabouts should be in the southwest of the Land of Water. Since Zabuza couldn't stay in the Land of Water for long after his defection, and the Mizukige's Anbu were not to be underestimated, Zabuza would have to leave the Land of Water to escape their pursuit. So Zabuza most likely encountered Haku when he set sail from the southeast of the Land of Water. As Kagura's mind's eye scanned and explored the area like radar, Menma finally detected a faint chakra carrying a chilling aura in a city not far away. "I've found something good. Want to go check it out together?" Menma said, then instantly jumped onto a big tree. Without waiting for Orochimaru to follow, he sped into the forest. Something interesting. Orochimaru naturally became interested and followed. In a city in the Land of Water, heavy snow is falling. A dirty little boy was rummaging through a pile of garbage for food. His thin clothes and bare feet looked out of place in the snowy weather. Suddenly, 3 stray dogs appeared beside him and began barking at him, as if declaring that this was their territory. The little boy raised his right hand expressionlessly, and an ice spike condensed in his palm, which he shot at the wild dog. Puffed! The leader of the wild dogs was shot in the head, and blood and brain matter flowed on the snow. The other 2 stray dogs howled and fled in panic with their tails between their legs. The little boy picked up half a piece of hard bread and started eating it. Suddenly, he saw a figure fall onto the snow in front of him. The little boy looked up and saw a mysterious person wearing a fox mask reaching out to him. The little boy who was squatting on the ground got up, stared blankly at the mysterious person in front of him, and for some reason, he seemed to sense something and slowly walked over. "What's your name?" came the voice from behind the mask. White, the little boy raised his head, his expression somewhat blank. Menma raised his hand and touched Bai's dirty short hair. "From now on, you'll stay with me." Menma took Shiro's hand and led her towards the inn in the small town. Tesk tesk. Orochimaru, who arrived later, landed next to the garbage heap from before. Looking at the still smoldering ice spike on the corpse of the wild dog whose head had been blown off, his vertical snake eyes were full of envy. "You found an ice-style kid as soon as you arrived." Orochimaru watched the two figures, one big and one small, walk away into the distance. It seems that bringing Shura to Kirigakure was the right decision. With his future intelligence, he must know which bloodline limits could be abducted from Kirigakure and which young geniuses he could recruit. However, since the other party has taken a liking to the bloodline limit, it's not something I can just abduct. I'll have to find a way to get some other children with bloodline limits. End of this chapter. Chapter 92 first, kidnap one white person. Chapter 92 first, kidnap a white person inside the inn. The dim light illuminated the cold glow of the specially made flying thunder god kanai in Orochimaru's hand. He stared at the familiar runes on the kanai, his snake-like eyes flashing with contemplation. The hotel owner stood there with vacant eyes. Orochimaru had just thought that Shura was going to temporarily place the child with the ice release bloodline limit at the inn and make further plans after they went to Kirigakure. Unexpectedly, after Orochimaru followed, Shura casually handed him a flying thunder god kanai and, right in front of him, used the flying thunder god technique to instantly disappear with the child. Tusk Tusk, this is really a useful ninjutsu, if it's from here to the land of bears. Orochimaru licked his lips lightly, his snake-like eyes contracting with excitement. That's a distance spanning most of the ninja world. Just how much chakra does that Shura guy have? It's important to know that even the second Hokage, Tabarama Senju, who invented the flying thunder god technique, and the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, who became famous throughout the ninja world for using the flying thunder god technique in the Third Shinobi World War. The two of them needed to use the flying thunder god technique several times in succession to travel from Konoha to the battlefield on the front lines. "Shura, who exactly are you?" Orochimaru muttered to himself, toying with the specially made flying thunder god kanai in his hand. While Orochimaru was waiting at the inn in the land of water, Menma, along with Haku, had already crossed most of the ninja world using the flying thunder god technique and arrived at their base in the land of bears. After landing, Menma led Bai towards the family compound. In the snow-covered military zone, two star ninjas immediately knelt on one knee. "My lord." "Go and call Zayankao over," Menma instructed briefly. "Yes, sir." The two patrolling star ninja bowed respectfully and immediately went to carry out their orders. This family compound is located on the east side of the capital of the Bear Kingdom, between the military and administrative districts, and is mainly inhabited by the core members of the Star Ninja Village and the organization. Menma also has a residence here. Soon after, Whirlpool Vanilla arrived in a hurry. Lord Shura, upon seeing Menma with a child, Uzumaki Kaoru respectfully addressed Menma as Shura. "This child is named Shiro, the last surviving member of the Snow Clan," Menma introduced to Kusanagi. His mother was the last member of the Snow Clan. After marrying an ordinary man, she was considered an omen of bad luck by his father and the villagers because of the ice release bloodline limit he displayed, and they killed his mother. Hearing about such similar experiences, Vanilla Whirlpool's eyes softened instantly, overflowing with maternal love and compassion. She knelt down and gently said to Bai, "Hello, my name is Vanilla Whirlpool. You can call me Aunt Vanilla." Bai timidly hid behind Menma. The woman patted Bai's head with her mahjong-like hand, looked down at him and said, "This will be your home from now on. Aunt Zayankao will take care of you. Be a good girl, okay?" Seemingly to dispel Bai's wariness and suspicion, Vortex Vanilla activated the Vajra lockdown. Don't worry about your abilities. Look, Auntie also has special abilities. A golden chakra chain emerged from behind her, swaying in the air like a tail. Upon seeing the chakra chain, Haku's eyes lit up, and he lost all wariness towards the red-haired ant in front of him. Menma gently supported the back of Bai's head with one hand, encouraging him to move forward. Bai slowly walked over and was embraced by Vortex Vanilla. I'll leave Shiro in your care. I still have some things to take care of. Menma entrusted Shiro to use Uzumaki Vanilla with peace of mind. Then he added, make a few rooms available. Some children with bloodline limits might come over in a while. Yes, sir. Whirlpool Vanilla stood up, took White's hand, and respectfully watched Menma leave. After Menma left using the Flying Thunder God technique, Uzumaki Vanilla looked down at Shiro, who looked as cute as a little rabbit. Overwhelmed with maternal love, she smiled and said, Auntie will take you to take a bath. There are some clothes I bought for Karin that she hasn't worn yet. You'll look very cute in them. You're back, in the land of water. Orochimaru was standing by the window watching the snow falling all around him. Hearing the noise inside, he turned his head slightly. As he turned around, he saw the Mahjong kunai being put back into the ninja tool pouch. Strange, I feel like I've forgotten something. Menma landed using the Flying Thunder God technique and felt a void in his heart. Did you forget something? I can't remember. As Orochimaru approached, Menma temporarily put the problem out of his mind, since he didn't feel anything too serious about it, and it was probably just a minor matter. Let's take a stroll around Kirigakure. Menma got up and walked outside. Orochimaru snorted and walked alongside Menma, smiling meaningfully. I'm so envious. Your Flying Thunder God technique has already surpassed Eternal Girl, hasn't it? Menma didn't answer, but coldly headed towards Kirigakure. The land of water is a country composed of countless islands. The largest island is dominated by mountains, rivers, and forests. Combined with its unique marine environment, the entire island is often shrouded in thick fog. The Hidden Mist Village is located deep in the western mountains of this island. Soon, Menma and Orochimaru arrived at the outskirts of Kirigakure and stood on a high mountain, looking out over the village covered in snow. The mountains here do have a bit of the charm of Guilin's landscape. Menma noticed that not only the mountains of the water country, but also the buildings in the Hidden Mist Village were in the cylindrical style of Hakachalu. In Wayan Village, most of the buildings are round, fortress-like structures resembling Hakka earthen buildings, some even reaching more than 10 stories. They stand like giant beasts among the mountains, appearing and disappearing in the snow and mist. At the very center of the village stands an exceptionally large red-tiled fortress, with a deep blue character for water printed on its blue brick wall. That's the Mizukage building. Orochimaru crossed his arms and began to introduce the place. With the tyranny of the fourth Mizukage, Yagura Karatachi, in recent years, all the clans with bloodline limits in the village have been driven to the outskirts. Over there is the Kaguya clan's territory, over there is the Hazuki clan's territory, and over there, the Hoshigaki clan. Speaking of which, that child just now seemed to be an ice release user from the Snow clan. Orochimaru suddenly narrowed his eyes. I remember the Snow clan was massacred a few years ago due to a rebellion. Orochimaru was unaware of why the fourth Mizukage, Yagura Karatachi, was resorting to such oppressive rule, turning the once peaceful Kirigakure into this mess, even wiping out the Yuki clan. But the facial texture is very clear. To avenge Rin Nohara, Obito used his Sharingan to control Yagura Karatachi and implemented the Blood Mist policy, suppressing the village's bloodline limit clans while simultaneously intensifying the relationship between commoner ninjas and ninja clans. The already tense relationship between civilian ninjas and ninja clans, who were under oppressive rule, was like a powder keg ready to explode at any moment. When the time is right, we will find a reason to eliminate them. First the Yuki clan, then the Hazuki clan and the Kaguya clan. These three ninja clans can be considered the strongest ninja clans in Kirigakure, especially the Kaguya clan, known as Battle Maniacs, who are the top fighting force in Kirigakure. Their status in Kirigakure is similar to that of the Uchiha clan in Konoha. If Mei Terumi hadn't noticed Yagura's abnormality and used her Byakugan to examine him, dispelling the illusion, the blood mist policy might have continued to wreak havoc. This blood mist rule that lasted for several years eventually led to a gap in the younger generation of Kirigakure. So much so that during the Fourth Shinobi World War, the only notable figures from Kirigakure were the 5th Mizukage, Mei Terumi, and 2 Jonin, Chijiro and Ao. Other famous Kirigakure ninjas were either rogue ninjas like Zabuza Mamachi, Suigetsu Hazuki, and Kasame Hashigaki, or powerful individuals like Amiri Ringo and Mangetsu Hazuki, who died young and were later resurrected using the impure world reincarnation technique. Oh, and there's also Utakata, the Six-Tails Jinchuriki. He also defected. When Boruto begins more than 20 years later, what kind of rotten fish and shrimp are the 4th 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist from Kirigakure? End of this chapter, Chapter 93, Kidnapping Kimimaro in front of Orochimaru. Chapter 93, Kidnapping Kimimaro in front of Orochimaru, Kaguya's territory, is located on the outskirts of Kirigakure. As the strongest ninja clan in Kirigakure, the Kaguya clan's original territory was located in the very heart of the village. But everything changed after the 4th Mizukage, Yagura Karatachi, took office and inexplicably began implementing the blood mist policy. The Kaguya clan were originally known for their battle maniacs and volatile tempers, frequently clashing with other ninja clans and civilian ninjas. In the past, due to war and the power of the ninja clans, several generations of Mizukage were born into ninja clans, and commoner ninjas could only dare to be angry at the Kaguya clan, but dared not speak out. However, after the 4th Mizukage took office, he used various pretexts to suppress the ninja clans, with the Kaguya clan, known for its volatile temper, being the first to be targeted. After several bloody conflicts, not only were Kaguya's various powers and high-level advisor positions in the village abolished, but Yagura Karatachi also forcibly relocated Kaguya's territory to a remote edge of the village in the name of maintaining village order. Chief, this can't go on any longer. Inside the Kaguya clan's shrine, a clan meeting is being held in secret. The Kaguya clan members, who had long been fed up with the oppressive policies of the 4th Mizukage, were filled with righteous indignation, their peace ornaments on their foreheads twisted with anger. The Snow clan has been wiped out. If we continue to sit and wait for our doom, the next one might be our Kaguya clan. Clan leader, overthrow Yagura's tyranny. Yes, right now, all the major ninja clans are in a state of panic. If we, as the strongest force in Kirigakure, start a rebellion, no ninja clan will help Yagura. That Yagura guy, he even betrayed his own family. He's completely abandoned by everyone. Clan chief, we support you as the 5th Mizukage. Faced with the agitated members of her clan, Chief Kaguya ignited a wildfire within her. The 4th Mizukage's policies didn't even spare the Kyoju clan. With the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist dead or having defected, the only usable members under Yagura Karatachi are a few Anbu ninjas like Suigetsu Habuki. Ah, if I could, I would have waited for Kimimaro to grow up. The clan leader sighed deeply, thinking of the child who had been imprisoned because his bloodline limit was too powerful. If it had been a few years later, that child would have grown up to be at least an elite jonin or even a cage-level fighter. Kimimaro, this name indeed made many clansmen look solemn. The Shikitsamiyaku bloodline he displayed at such a young age was stronger than that of many established jonin, but Kimimaro is only 7 years old now. Because of his powerful bloodline, his bloodline disease is far beyond that of ordinary people. It flares up from time to time, making it impossible for him to fight or even live a normal life. The tribesmen feared his power and trained him as a weapon. Even without Kimimaro, we can still succeed, a Kaguya clansman shouted. Yes, Kimimaro has been ill for several days now. HMPH, does the mighty Kaguya clan need to wait for a little brat to grow up? The clansmen were discussing it animatedly. Chieftain, instead of hesitating, let's act now. The Kaguya clan members were in a frenzy, wishing they could storm into the Mizukage building immediately and drag Yagura off his position as Mizukage. Fine, Chief Kaguya also had a fiery temper, and had long been very dissatisfied with Yagura's suppression. Since they had decided to launch a coup, the Kaguya clan had no tendency to procrastinate. All the clansmen, their faces filled with fanaticism, surged out of the clan's territory under the command of the clan leader and elders, heading straight for the Mizukage building. The Kaguya clan has no cowards, only the losers rebel. Victory ends tyranny. Oh dear, these lunatics, they're as insane as ever. In the shadows of the high-rise, Orochimaru leaned against the window, his snake-like eyes reflecting the surging Kaguya clan below, who were rushing towards the Mizukage building like a tidal wave. Have they always been like this? Menma stood opposite Orochimaru on the other side of the window. He was unaware that the Kaguya clan had made a last-minute decision to rebel. But in his view, this seemingly tactical act of launching a mass assault on the Water Shadow building was no different from suicide. Unless the Kaguya clan possesses cage-level combat power and can deliver the final blow. Otherwise, if the battle reaches a stalemate and the Kaguya clan has no allies, they will soon be besieged by other ninja clans and civilian ninjas, finding themselves in a predicament of being surrounded on all sides. After all, no matter how badly Yagura Karatachi performed, he was still the fourth Mizukage of Kirigakure. These lunatics have always been like this. Orochimaru recalled his encounters with these lunatics during the previous Shinobi World Wars, and he still felt a sense of dread. Menma's only impression of the Kaguya clan was of Kaguya Kimimaro. Moreover, in the anime, Kaguya Kimimaro is portrayed as very calm, confident, mature, composed, and unhurried. Even when fighting against the people of Konoha, who are their enemies, he maintains a polite demeanor. It's completely unimaginable that Kimimaro comes from a fighting family known for its madness. This is somewhat similar to Uchiha Shisui. Let's go. The entire Kaguya clan will be mobilized. None of them will return tonight. Orochimaru was not optimistic about the Kaguya clan's rebellion. I estimate that before dawn, the Mizukage will send the Anbu to clean up the old, weak, women, and children here. Menma followed Orochimaru toward the Kaguya clan's underground prison. I've heard that the Kaguya clan has a genius who is only 7 years old. He has shown an extremely strong Shikitsami-aku bloodline and is already close to the strength of a Jonin in the Kaguya clan. Orochimaru introduced as the two walked down the stairs. I know you're very interested in bloodline limit families, but I want this kid even more. Orochimaru's sinister snake eyes swept over Menma, who was following behind him. You won't want him. A soft, certain voice came from behind the white three-eyed fox mask. Oh, Orochimaru stopped in his tracks. The two had arrived at the dungeon of the Kaguya clan. As they walked deeper into the dungeon, they soon saw a white-haired child with dark circles under his eyes lying on the ground, trembling and struggling to breathe. Seeing this, Orochimaru frowned as well, a bloodline disease. In the past, this would have been difficult to solve, but now. Orochimaru was pondering what would happen if he implanted Hashirama cells or white Zetsu cells into him. While Orochimaru was still pondering, Shura beside him had already placed his hand on the cage, and with a tremendous force, he twisted the iron bars and went inside. Menma approached Kimimaro, who was suffering from an attack, and made eye contact with the child before placing her hand on his chest. A surge of powerful chakra flowed into his meridians through his acupoints, warming Kimimaro's body like a hot spring. The warmth relieved the pain in his body, allowing Kimimaro, who had been suffering from illness for several days, to slowly fall asleep. His body is too weak to withstand the awakening of all-killing ash bones. After Kimimaro fell asleep, Menma got up, his white three-eyed fox mask slightly turned to look at Orochimaru. End of this chapter, Chapter 94, Zabuza and -039's Rebellion. Chapter 94, Zabuza's Rebellion Together Kill Ash Bones. Orochimaru's snake eyes narrowed slightly. It was the first time he had ever heard this term. Menma didn't explain, but simply gently picked up the sleeping Kimimaro. The still young Kimimaro had a chubby face, and his complexion was slightly red due to long-term suffering from illness, with fine beads of sweat on his forehead. This is the second one, The next one has to be mine. Orochimaru licked his lips with some dissatisfaction, his tone tinged with jealousy. Shura is too powerful. It wasn't enough that he took away a Snow Clan ice release child. Now he's taken away a Kaguya Clan genius as well. The first one, the mahjong-shaped flying thunder god Kunai, was thrown at Orochimaru's feet. Haku is not from Kirigakure, and I found him myself. HMPH, I'm already starting to regret bringing you along, Orochimaru said sinisterly. Menma ignored Orochimaru's complaints and immediately activated the flying thunder god technique for a long-range teleportation. However, a moment later, Menma returned to the Kaguya clan's dungeon. Let's go, Menma said to Orochimaru, who had a resentful look on his face. Kaguya's territory is now full of the elderly, women, and children. It's the perfect place for you to kidnap kids. These words made Orochimaru feel a little better. Throughout the rest of the night, Orochimaru and Menma roamed the Kaguya clan's territory, kidnapping some of the Kaguya clan's children. If Orochimaru encounters elderly people or women left behind, he will kill them without hesitation and then seal their bodies in a storage scroll. Anyway, these Kaguya clan members won't live past tomorrow, Orochimaru explained with a cold laugh. It doesn't matter who kills them. Menma took the opportunity to collect many secret scrolls of the Kaguya clan. Although these secret techniques all require the bloodline of the corpse bone vein, they can serve as preliminary technologies for Menma to explore in his research on co-killing ash bones. While Menma and Orochimaru were plundering the children and stockpiled secret techniques of the Kaguya clan, an unprecedented rebellion has broken out in Kirigakure. Almost all of Kaguya's clan's fighting force was mobilized, with the clan leader personally leading the elite troops straight to the Mizukage building. However, Yagura had already dispatched ANBU to monitor the territories of each ninja clan, and to report any unusual activity to him immediately. Therefore, as soon as the Kaguya clan ninjas left their clan's territory, they were spotted by the ANBU ninjas who were monitoring them, and the ANBU ninjas promptly reported this to their Mizukage. Yagura Karatachi ordered Suijutsu Hazuki to lead all the Anbu ninjas in an attack, while simultaneously issuing orders to various ninja clans and civilian ninjas to quell the rebellion. Target, Kaguya's clan HMPH. What a bunch of fools who don't know what's good for them. In the Mizukage's office in the Mizukage building, Yagura Karatachi sat in his chair like a puppet, while a low hum came from the shadows behind him. Wearing a dark blue robe and a tiger-striped mask, Obito Uchiha stood in front of the French windows, watching the increasingly fierce battlefield in the distance. He wished that all the ninjas of Kirigakure would die. Hey, Obito. A pitcher plant rose from the ground, and the white Zetsu on the other side said excitedly to Obito, "The fight down there is so exciting. I feel like they're about to poop out." "Call me Lord Madara." Obito turned his head and said in an icy tone. "All right, Lord Obito," White Zetsu replied with a grin. Obito snorted and turned his head away. The battle below continued, and without even Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, appearing, the Hidden Mists ANBU ninjas blocked the Kaguya clan's first wave of attacks. Subsequently, after receiving orders from the Mizukage, the various ninja clans, though somewhat reluctant, were deterred by the force of the order and feared that refusing would incur the wrath of the volatile Mizukage. Therefore, each clan dispatched ninjas to participate in the suppression operation. The commoner ninjas had long been dissatisfied with the Kaguya clan's madmen, and after receiving the order to suppress the Kaguya clan's rebellion, these commoner ninjas were actually the ones who put in the most effort. "How are Nagato and Konan doing lately?" Obito's voice came from behind his mask. "It's the same as always," Zetsu shrugged. "The 6 Paths of Pain is not yet finished, and there is still no news about a new member for the organization." Obito stared at the battlefield in the village below, pondering the few 7 ninja swordsmen who had already defected. He thought he could find an opportunity to recruit these guys into his ranks and use them as pawns. Just as Obito was pondering, White Zetsu suddenly issued a warning. "Someone's coming." Obito immediately disappeared into the shadows, and Zetsu also hid underground. Dang ding dang. Footsteps approached from afar, and a ninja carrying a large sword and with his hidden mist village headband tied diagonally to his spiky head, pushed open the door and entered. Bandages covered half of his face, but they couldn't hide the sharpness and murderous intent in his eyes. It was Mamachi Zabuza, who was known as the Demon. However, at this time, Biwa Juzo had not yet defected, and the guillotine was still on Biwa Juzo's body. As a member of the hidden Mist Anbu, Zabuza carried only an ordinary ninja sword. Obito, hidden in the shadows, frowned slightly, controlling Yagura to look up at the spiky-haired ninja at the door like a puppet. "Zabuza, why aren't you suppressing the Kaguya clan's rebellion? What are you doing here?" Yagura's purple eyes were cold as he questioned. Although Yagura has a baby face and looks only in his teens, he actually has children. If you calculate, Yagura's grandson is 2 or 3 years older than Boruto, and Yagura's son should be around 7 years old now, about the same age as Itachi. "Lord Mizukage, I have important news to report regarding the Kaguya clan's rebellion." Zabuza took out a scroll from his ninja tool pouch and stepped forward slowly. "Tread tap." Just as he was about to reach the Mizukage's desk, Zabuza suddenly threw the scroll in his hand upwards and instantly moved forward, swinging his ninja sword down fiercely. Click! The ninja sword cleaved the table and Yagura in two, but Zabuza's experience told him that the Mizukage wouldn't die so easily. Sure enough, the halved Yagura turned into a puddle of water. Water substitution technique. Yagura Karatachi emerged from the shadows beside him, his purple eyes coldly and lifelessly fixed on Zabuza, who had picked up his greatsword again. HMPH, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. Zabuza was not discouraged by his failure to land a blow. On the contrary, his fighting spirit was boiling, and his eyes were filled with a thirst for slaughter. He had finally found this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but all the Anbu around the Mizukage were out suppressing the Kaguya clan's rebellion, and even Suichitsu Hazuki wasn't there. If we don't succeed this time, we'll have even less of a chance at other times. Therefore, we must take a desperate gamble. Are you going to rebel too? Yagura Karatachi drew his weapon, an iron rod with a hook. Isn't the position of Mizukage always held by the strong? Zabuza shouldered his greatsword, a crazed glint in his eyes. If I kill you, I can become Mizukage for fun. Before the words were even finished, the ninja sword and the iron rod clashed violently, sparks flying everywhere. End of this chapter, Chapter 95 Obito. Damn it, Shura is still chasing me. Chapter 95 Obito. Damn it, Shura is still chasing me. In Kirigakure, the situation is gradually becoming clear. As more and more ninja clans and civilian ninjas participated in the suppression, the Kaguya clan was completely suppressed. Despite the fact that the Kaguya clan's Shikitsamiyaku, Corpse Bone Pulse, grants them formidable combat power capable of taking on multiple opponents. But they were facing an encirclement and suppression by the entire Hidden Mist Village, Corpse Bone Pulse Dance of the Willow. Kaguya clan chief's joints erupted with bone spurs, using taijutsu to unleash a wide-range AoE attack on the surrounding Kirigakure ninjas, sweeping across the area. Kaguya's bone spikes can suddenly extend, increasing their attack range and making them difficult for enemy ninjas to defend against. This is one of the reasons why the Kaguya clan is far superior to other ninjas in taijutsu. Kaguya clan ninjas, their bodies covered in bone spikes, charged left and right, attempting to break through the ANBU ninjas' defenses, but encountered fierce resistance. Faced with such a powerful bone spike attack, the ninjas of Kirigakure did not recklessly engage the Kaguya clan in a direct taijutsu battle. Among the Anbu ninjas, those skilled in taijutsu were sent to the front lines to engage in taijutsu battles with the Kaguya clan, while other ninjas who were not skilled in taijutsu, as well as those who specialized in ninjutsu, genjutsu, or ninja tools, kept their distance and used mid to long-range ninja tools and ninjutsu to launch ranged attacks. As ninjas from the same village, they had a deep understanding of the Kaguya clan's taijutsu and shikitsamiyaku attack methods. Therefore, they were well aware of how to restrain the Kaguya clan, water release, water dragon bullet. Several hidden mist ninjas unleashed a water release ninjutsu, spewing out large amounts of water from their mouths, forming water dragons that rushed towards the Kaguya clan ninjas. Water escape, water formation pillar. Water release, water fang blade. Water release, water fang bullet. Every hidden mist ninja knows water release ninjutsu. When the users unite, the continuous stream of water release ninjutsu converges into a torrent. It completely halts the Kaguya clan's offensive. Boom, two large, flounder-like swords clashed with the bone spikes of the Kaguya clan leader, producing a piercing metallic clang. The shockwave repelled everyone around. A brat from the Hazuki clan. Kaguya clan leader sneered after recognizing the newcomer. Then his spine protruded from his skin, and the Kaguya clan leader grabbed the spine, pulled it out like a whip, and lashed it at Hazuki Mengetsu in front of him. Corpse bone vein dance of the iron wire flower. This long whip made of vertebrae is not only incredibly destructive, but also adept at changing its form. It can attack like a whip at times and transform into a bone spear at other times, depending on the user's will. But the enemy facing Kaguya is a genius of the Hazuki clan. How disgusting. Hazuki Mengetsu had white hair that reached his shoulders and covered his ears, and a loose bandage was wrapped around his neck. When he spoke, his sharp teeth opened and closed. On one side is the renowned Kaguya clan patriarch, and on the other is the genius child, who is the only one in the contemporary era capable of wielding all 7 ninja swords. The massive shockwave generated by the physical combat between the two sides cleared a radius of several meters, and no one dared to approach. Hurame-kari release. Hazuki Mengetsu channeled his chakra into the twin swords Hurame-kari, the pale blue chakra enveloping the two blades. The two round holes at the front of the flounder gathered chakra balls, which suddenly burst out and blasted towards the Kaguya clan leader on the other side. However, the Kaguya clan leader was no pushover either. She used the enormous bone formed from the Shikitsamiyaku, corpse bone pulse, to block the two chakra orbs. The Kaguya clan has excellent physical abilities, and even though they were hit at close range by the explosion of the light sphere, they only suffered minor injuries. Not far away, the fat and tall watermelon-like body of Suigetsu Hazuki stood in the center of the battlefield, commanding the Anbu ninjas from various clans and civilians against the Kaguya clan's rebellion. Because the Anbu had prepared a plan to deal with the rebellion, and with more and more ninja from various clans and civilians arriving, the Kaguya clan rebels were continuously killed. The battlefield began to shrink, and the number of rebellious Kaguya clan members dwindled as the fighting continued, until they were gradually surrounded. "These damn lunatics," Suigetsu Hazuki muttered, finishing off a Kaguya clansman with his greatsword Samehada before looking at the battlefield. Kaguya's clan truly lived up to their reputation as battle maniacs. No matter how severely wounded they would never surrender, and countless members fought to the death. Boom, just as Suigetsu Hazuki was watching the Kaguya clan members being wiped out on the battlefield, and the remaining mad skeletons were no match for him, a huge explosion suddenly came from the Mizukage building behind him. What? Suigetsu Habutsuki and the others looked over in astonishment, only to see that the Mizukage building had been blasted open, and thick smoke was billowing into the sky. Could this be a backup plan prepared by the Kaguya clan? Suigetsu Habuki wondered to himself. Call out. Yagura, now in his half-tailed beast form, arrived on the battlefield, standing atop a Chalu earthen building, looking down at the Kaguya clan members struggling to survive. Lord Mizukage. Suigetsu Habuki arrived at Yagura's side with several Anbu members and knelt on one knee. Zabuza's assassination attempt failed, and he escaped after being wounded by me, Yagura said coldly. Upon hearing this, the Anbu ninjas, including Suigetsu Habutsuki, were momentarily stunned. I didn't see Zabuza just now, so he went to ambush the Mizukage. Lord Mizukage, what should we do with these remnants? Sashiyama Faguki asked with sharp teeth. Yagura looked towards the battlefield, then ordered Kasame Hashigaki and Juzo Biwa. Each of you take a squad of Anbu and go wipe out the Kaguya clan's territory. Leave no remnants alive. At this time, neither Kasame Hashigaki nor Juzo Biwa had defected yet, but they were stunned when they heard the order to exterminate their clan. That's the largest ninja clan in the village. What are you standing there for? This is the Mizuki's order. Suijutsu Hazuki roared at the two. The Yuki clan has rebelled, and the Kaguya clan has rebelled too. We must strike hard against these rebellious clans. Yes, Kasame Hashigaki and Juzo Biwa accepted the order, and each led a squad of ANBU ninjas to eliminate the threat completely. Through the smoke of the Mizuki building, Obito Uchiha coldly watched the Kaguya clan being besieged on the battlefield below. Although the Kaguya clan's rebellion was decisive, it caught Kirigakure off guard, and they were driven back to the Mizuki building. However, many Jonin from Kirigakure had not yet defected during this period, and Hazuki Mangetsu, Ringo Amuri, and others had not yet died of illness, so it can be said that this was a period of extremely strong combat power. Since the Kaguya clan had not contacted other ninja clans and only had the power of one clan, it was only a matter of time before they were bloodily suppressed by the entire hidden mist village. So it was you who was behind Kirigakure's schemes. Suddenly, a mocking voice that sent chills down Obito's spine came from behind him. Obito suddenly turned his head, his tiger-striped mask on. In the ruins that had just been blasted by Zabuza's explosive tags, a mysterious figure in a black robe and wearing a white three-eyed fox mask sat on the rubble, propping his cheek with one hand and lightly tapping the mask with his fingertips, seemingly sizing him up thoughtfully. You bastard! Obito didn't hesitate and instantly entered holofication mode. Damn it, how come Shura is in Kirigakure? End of this chapter, Chapter 96 teasing Obito, Chapter 96 teasing Obito. At the Mizuki building, the smoke from the battle gradually dissipated with the wind. Obito Uchiha stood in place, warily looking around. A pitcher plant emerged from Obito's feet, and the white Zetsu's half spoke, "There's no one else around. That woman didn't come." Upon hearing this, Obito's tense nerves relaxed slightly. Several months have passed since the last battle with Shura and that Uchiha named Nameless, but Obito still feels lingering fear whenever he recalls that battle. Especially when facing that woman's Manjikaiu Sharingan, the sense of oppression was immense, and the terrifying power unleashed by Susanoo, the third power of the Manjikaiu Sharingan, it still haunts him to this day. In contrast, although Shura had a brief encounter with him, he did not demonstrate any ridiculously strong combat power. However, for that woman to submit to Shura, Shura must have some extraordinary abilities. What are you doing here? Obito remained in his intangible state and mentally timed his attack. Once 5 minutes were up, he would immediately enter the Kamui dimension, not giving his opponent a chance to engage in a prolonged battle. Obito's intangibility ability can only last for 5 minutes, and he cannot maintain the intangibility state when he enters the Kamui dimension, so this information must be carefully concealed. However, Obito was unaware that Nagato had already detected the duration of Obito's holofication using the Rain Tiger Free technique, which was 5 minutes. Zio Nan also began preparing for the 600 billion detonating tags. I heard Kirigakure is a bit chaotic, so I came here to take a stroll and have some fun. Menma, sitting on the ruins, spoke in a flippant tone, as if he were really just wandering around. Obito naturally wouldn't believe such an explanation. What, have you taken a fancy to some mist ninja? Tell me, and maybe I can help you force him to become a rogue ninja, Obito deliberately probed. A powerful ninja like Shura would not attack the 5 great ninja villages without a reason, so Obito was always looking for Shura's reason for attacking Konoha and Kimimaro. Obito pondered in his mind what Kirigakure might have that Shura might want. A family with bloodline limits, the 3 tails and the 6 tails, 7 ninja swords. It's all possible. Seeing Obito's probing, Menma's lips curled up slightly, unable to resist teasing Obito, so he said, "It's very simple. One of my companions was killed by the hidden mist ninja, so I've come to seek revenge." As soon as Menma finished speaking, Obito suddenly raised his hand, and countless sharp branches shot over like arrows. Would release the art of cutting. These branches pierced Shura's body deeply. Boom, however, the next second, the Shura who was hit suddenly dispersed the smoke, and his pierced body turned into a wooden stake. Substitution technique. Tisk tisk tisk, so easily losing your composure. A mocking voice came from not far from Obito. Obito quickly turned around, took out the Uchiha flame fan from the Kamui dimension, and hurled it towards the source of the sound. A crisp metallic clang echoed from the darkness. Uchiha Himura's fan was bounced back. Who exactly are you? Obito grabbed the iron chain and retrieved the flame fan, holding it in his hand with fear and wariness. No one could possibly know about that. Obito, who had been tricked time and time again, finally realized what was happening. Beneath the tiger-striped mask, a single eye, the Mangekyou Sharingan, blossoms with a scarlet light. A few months ago, when they fought, the opponent called himself Uchiha Obito, which provoked Obito. In addition, the opponent was a woman with the Mangekyou Sharingan, which prevented Obito from using many of his techniques. For example, Uchiha Flame Fan and Wood Release. This time, he was well prepared and extremely cautious. However, the words spoken by the other party once again shattered Obito's psychological defenses. He was almost certain that the other party knew his true identity. However, Obito couldn't understand it at all. Even Minato couldn't guess his identity, and even Kakashi thought he had been dead for many years. The only ones who know his true identity are Madara, who has already died, Black Zetsu who is by his side, and the group of White Zetsu who took care of him in the past. However, even so, Obito would never admit it. Obito Uchiha had already died that night along with Rin Nohara. Ah, who am I? Shura slowly emerged from the shadows, feigning deep thought. Then he clenched his right fist and lightly tapped his left palm. I remember now. I am actually Hashirama Senju. Menma imitated Hashirama's voice. HMPH, playing tricks. Obito sneered, feeling humiliated once again. Since the other party refuses to show their true colors, they must have ulterior motives and conspiracies. Otherwise, once he knew that Obito had secretly controlled the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, he certainly wouldn't have been arguing with him here. He would have gone outside and shouted, forcing Obito to abandon Yagura as a pawn. Since the other party had other plans for coming to Kirigakure, Obito decided not to get entangled with them. The time for etherealization was almost up, so he immediately activated his divine power, and his entire body was engulfed by the rotating spatial fluctuations. Ju quickly burrowed underground and escaped, using the mayfly technique. How boring. Are you so easily amused? Menma shrugged as he watched the two disappear from his sight without stopping them. After all, he wasn't looking to cause trouble for Obito and Zetsu. He just happened to notice that the two guys were there, so he came over to check on them and, incidentally, tease Obito. Hey, just for fun. Menma turned to look at the battlefield outside. Kaguya clan chief was surrounded and attacked by many Jonin from Kirigakure. After his hands and feet were severed, he activated the corpse bone pulse, early fern dance on his deathbed, taking down 3 Jonin with him while severely injuring dozens of Kirigakure ninjas. However, all the rebels from the Kaguya clan were killed in battle, and the hidden mist ANBU have already gone to Kaguya's territory to wipe out the remaining rebels. At least they have more backbone than the Uchiha. No, their clan leader has more backbone than Fugaku, Menma commented in a low voice. The dozens of Kaguya clan members who died in battle took at least one Kirigakure ninja with them before they died. The contrast between the Kaguya clan and the Uchiha clan perfectly illustrates the saying, a bad soldier is a bad soldier, but a bad general makes a bad army. Fugaku's indecisiveness and cowardice should bear at least 80% of the responsibility for the Uchiha clan's extermination. In contrast, the Kaguya clan. Although the rebellion failed, the Kaguya clan displayed a desperate determination, inflicting heavy casualties on Kirigakure. In order to suppress this rebellion, Kirigakure lost 5 Jonin and more than 60 Chunin and Genin, and there were as many as 300 or 400 wounded. The losses were comparable to those of a major battle during the Fourth Shinobi World War. Half an hour later, on a small hill outside Kirigakure, when Menma arrived at the meeting place with Orochimaru, he found no trace of Orochimaru. This guy, is he running that fast? Menma was pondering when he suddenly felt the fog around him thicken. Hee, interesting. Menma chuckled lightly, and Kagura's mind's eye instantly activated, sensing the enemy hidden in the mist. The decapitation sword, the twin flounder swords, and the Samehada sword attacked simultaneously from 3 directions. End of this chapter. Chapter 97, The Three Ninja Swordsmen vs. Menma. Chapter 97, The Three Ninja Swordsmen vs. Menma on the battlefield shrouded in thick fog, Suigetsu Hazuki, Juzo Biwa, and Mangetsu Hazuki launched a sudden attack using a silent assassination technique. Their 3 ninja swords, imbued with killing intent, thrusting straight at their target. However, when the 3 ninja swords got within 10 centimeters of their target, they encountered tremendous resistance, as if an invisible iron wall was protecting the target, preventing them from advancing even an inch further. What's going on? Watermelon pufferfish demon's small eyes suddenly shrank. Hazuki Mangetsu reacted extremely quickly, making a gun shape with his left hand and aiming at the mysterious man's mask. Water release, water iron cannon technique. SHHHA. 3 water bullets shot through the air, heading towards the opposite side like bullets. Boom, boom, boom. 3 water marbles still couldn't get close to the mysterious person. They were blocked at a distance of about 10 centimeters, and water droplets splashed everywhere. It's a barrier, Hazuki Mangetsu analyzed. The 3 who had failed in their attack quickly retreated and disappeared into the mist, forming a triangular formation around Menma, each wielding a ninja sword. A guy I've never seen before, ninjutsu I've never seen before. Pipa Juzo slung his guillotine over his shoulder, the red stripe on his chin and the cross-shaped scar on his right cheek adding to his mystery and fierceness. Be careful, this guy is a demon. Suigetsu Hazuki gripped Samehada tightly, his voice low. They were just cleaning up the battlefield when they suddenly received orders from the Mizukage to pursue a mysterious person who was causing trouble inside Kirigakure. They had discovered something unusual here and were investigating when the mysterious person arrived. So the 3 of them set up a fog concealment technique, hiding themselves in the thick fog, looking for an opportunity to launch a fatal attack. All 3 of them were top-tier ninjas among the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, yet their surprise attack was easily thwarted by the enemy. After seeing the enemy's mask, Suigetsu Faguki, the captain of the Hidden Mist Army, realized that the person they were trying to kill was none other than Shura, the mysterious ninja who had attacked Konoha and Kimimaro last year. Tusk. This is getting a bit troublesome. Juzo Biwa sensed something was amiss. Since the first generation of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist were kicked into the Lucky 3 by Might Dai, who opened the 8 gates during the Third Shinobi World War, the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist have never been able to reunite. The enemy before him was a mysterious and powerful figure who had wreaked havoc in Konoha and Kimimaro and then left unscathed, forcing Juzo Biwa to be cautious. After all, that genin from Konoha had left a very deep impression on him. Shura, Hazuki Mangetsu, hailed as a genius child demon, felt his fighting spirit boiling over at this mysterious enemy. Beneath Menma's white 3-eyed fox mask, his Sharingan activated, piercing through the thick fog and revealing the 3 people hidden within it. The Sharingan's dynamic capture and the Byakugan's X-ray vision are both excellent counters to the hidden mist technique of the Hidden Mist Village, causing them considerable trouble during the previous Shinobi World Wars. How many of the 7 ninja swordsmen have arrived? Menma flicked his right hand, sending several kunai seemingly casually piercing into the thick fog to scout the situation. It seems that Orochimaru must have sensed these guys before he hurriedly ran away. Taking advantage of the Kaguya clan's rebellion, various ninja clans sent ninjas to participate in the suppression. Orochimaru stole many children with bloodline limits from various ninja clans in the Hidden Mist Village. Menma looked down on these ordinary bloodline limits, and he couldn't find Hazuki Suigetsu of the Hazuki clan either, so he only asked Orochimaru to share the research results. In exchange, Menma will help Orochimaru evacuate the children from the Land of Water. I just didn't expect the pursuers to arrive so quickly. It's likely that Obito was controlling the pursuers sent by Yagura. He sensed through Kagura's mind's eye and found that there were only 3 people: Suigetsu Hazuki, Hibiki Juzo, and Hazuki Mengetsu. The three ninja swordsmen who were currently available had all been dispatched by Yagura Karatachi. Does Obito really think these few guys can stop me? Menma pondered as the second wave of their attack began. Suijutsu Hazuki was the first to unleash the needle-headed thousand needles technique. His thick, orange hair stood on end as he fired countless fine needles at Shura, seemingly trying to find the enemy's weakness through a covering attack. Pipa Juzo, wielding his guillotine, closed in and engaged in direct combat. Taking advantage of the gap in the two teammates holding off the enemy, Hazuki Mengetsu also moved quickly, looking for an opportunity. Dang dang dang. Menma, holding a kunai, caught the guillotine that Juzo Biwa swung at him, while simultaneously forming a hand seal with one hand. Fire escaped the great fire extinguishes. A surge of fire attribute chakra condensed beneath his mask, then flames erupted, forming a wall of fire that suddenly hurtled towards the direction where Suijutsu Habutsuki was hiding. At the same time, the massive wall of fire also blocked countless needle-headed senbin needles in the air. The blazing wall of fire rapidly evaporated the surrounding moisture, and wherever the fire passed, the thick fog dissipated. Now, amidst the rising mist, Hazuki Mengetsu, having found his opportunity, concentrated his chakra into the blades of his twin swords, Hurame-kari, and suddenly attacked from the side and rear. The twin blades, Hurame-kari, were joined together horizontally. The two holes at the back spewed out streams of chakra, pushing the Hurame-kari forward, while the two holes at the front also spewed out a large number of chakra orbs, flounder liberation. Boom, Hazuki Mengetsu wielded his twin swords Hurame-kari, striking Shura with one side carrying a ball of chakra light, just like swinging a tennis racket. Boom. However, the expected scene of Shura being blasted away did not occur, because Shura, who was hit by the chakra ball, suddenly turned into a puff of smoke and dissipated. Hazuki Mengetsu's purple pupils turned serious. This was just a shadow clone of the enemy. Watch out, Hazuki Mengetsu warned. A squeak. Before the warning had even finished, a cacophony of birdsong suddenly came from behind Pipa Juzo. Pipa Juzo felt a chill run down his spine. Without thinking, he held his ninja sword horizontally behind him, but it was too late. His right hand, imbued with lightning chakra, pierced through Juzo Biwa's heart. What? He stared in shock and resentment at the hand that pierced his chest and the dark purple lightning chakra before slowly collapsing to the ground. The decapitation sword also crashed to the ground. Menma kicked the executioner's blade into the air with his right foot, caught it with his left hand, and slung it over his shoulder. The lightning release ninjutsu in his right hand was still emitting a hissing sound, and a pool of blood flowed on the ground. Damn it! Suijutsu Hazuki teleported to Hazuki Mengetsu's side, looking at Biwa Juzo lying at Shura's feet in horror. Such speed! Hazuki Mengetsu was shocked by the speed at which the opponent cast the spell. Is it the body flicker technique? No, it's more like a space-time ninjutsu. Hazuki Mengetsu was shocked by the opponent's strength when he saw that the opponent had easily killed Biwa Juzo and obtained the executioner's blade with just a few simple exchanges. Suijutsu Habutsuki slowly tore off the strips of cloth wrapped around his greatsword Samehada, his face grave. The strength of the opponent reminded him of the Konoha genin he had encountered a few years ago. That guy in the green bodysuit with thick eyebrows, despite possessing such terrifying strength, is only a genin. If they hadn't scattered and fled for their lives, they probably would have been kicked to death one by the other. This event became a lasting fear in the hearts of the survivors. Is that Samehada? Menma suddenly wanted to see how much chakra this guy could consume as he watched Suijutsu Hazuki smack his lips at Samehada. End of this chapter. Chapter 98, Samehada is too full. Chapter 98, Samehada is too full. As the sky gradually brightened, the sun rose from the east. After the fire-style ninjutsu, an even thicker fog rose from the ground. Hazuki Mengetsu and Suijutsu Hazuki took the opportunity to hide in the fog, waiting for their chance to strike. Taking advantage of the moment when he disappeared into the thick fog, Hazuki Mengetsu took out the scroll containing his stored ninja swords and released the exploding blade. Spray through a summoning jutsu. A giant blade covered in explosive tags shot out from the sky and was firmly caught by him. Since the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist were kicked into oblivion by Konoha genin during the Third Shinobi World War, the remaining swords were inherited and sealed away by Hazuki Mengetsu. These 7 ninja swords were all crafted under the supervision of the second Mizukage, Hazuki Genjutsu. The standard for geniuses and heads of the Hazuki clan is to be proficient in using all 7 ninja swords and to serve as guardians of them for a long period of time. At the same time, the geniuses of each generation of the Hazuki clan are also the leaders of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. After Hazuki Mengetsu passed away, his younger brother Hazuki Suijutsu set out to prove himself by collecting the 7 ninja swords and rebuilding the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Then, for some reason, he was captured by Orochimaru and imprisoned for several years. It wasn't until Uchiha Sasuke killed Orochimaru, released Hazuki Suijutsu, found Karin, released Jugo, and formed the Snake Team. In terms of talent, Hazuki Mengetsu is definitely stronger than his younger brother, Hazuki Suijutsu. After confirming that the barrier did not protect the enemy at all times, Hazuki Mengetsu unleashed his exploding blade. Spray. This is a large sword with explosive tags covering its blade, and it can summon countless explosive tags. When attacking at close range, it can use the explosive tags to blow up enemies, or it can throw the explosive tags at enemies to launch a ranged attack. Hazuki Mengetsu, wielding the exploding blade. Frozen Blade activated the Great Water Arm technique. His hands were enhanced by the chakra of the water transformation technique, swelling into knotted muscles and greatly increasing his arm strength. He made eye contact with the watermelon pufferfish demon and nodded, indicating that the preparations were complete. The two then charged towards the Usura shrouded in thick fog once more. Water Release, Cutting Rain. With one hand carrying the greatsword Samehada, Suijutsu Hazuki was not idle either, forming a hand seal with the other. This is a secret technique that eliminates the connection between ninjutsu and chakra. It interrupts the enemy's ninjutsu by using the surrounding mist and moisture. Of course, water-style ninjutsu is unaffected and may even be enhanced. Menma did indeed feel an invisible force affecting his chakra, making it harder to maintain the effect of his transformation technique. Hahaha, Hazuki Mengetsu shouted, leaping into the air and slashing down at Shura with his exploding blade. Frozen Spray. Clang Menma caught the exploding blade. Flying Drop with his executioner's blade, and at the same time saw the explosive tags on the blade begin to burn. Hihi, Hazuki Mengetsu grinned, revealing his sharp teeth and a triumphant smile. Boom, 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 several explosive tags on the blade of the exploding blade. Flying Drop exploded simultaneously. In the instant the flames engulfed the two, Hazuki Mengetsu's body liquefied into water. Amidst the smoke of the explosion, Hazuki Mengetsu, whose body had already turned to water, quickly withdrew. Ripples spread across the various parts that had been shattered by the explosion, and they rapidly healed as before. The Hazuki clan's secret technique, Water Transformation Technique, HMPH, this kid will be lucky to escape with his life. Watermelon Pufferfish Demon grinned, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth, his small eyes carefully searching through the smoke. Don't be careless. Hazuki Mengetsu didn't think that this explosion could hurt the opponent. Sure enough, before the smoke cleared, a figure carrying a decapitation sword slowly walked out of the thick smoke of the explosion. That guy named Shura didn't have a single injury on him. How did they do that? Hazuki Mengetsu frowned, looking at the white three-eyed fox mask, which seemed to have left no trace of smoke or gunpowder in the explosion. Was it the body flicker technique from earlier? Suijutsu Hazuki's pupils shrank as he recalled Shura's sudden disappearance and the move that killed Biwa Juzo. It looks like a space-time ninjutsu, but I'm not sure. Hazuki Mengetsu glanced at Samehada, the greatsword that had become somewhat agitated after being awakened, and said to Suijutsu Hazuki, "I'll continue to hold him back." He then leaped out suddenly, brandishing his exploding blade. Flying Drops and charged at Shura once more. Suijutsu Hazuki formed hand seals and created 2 water clones, which, together with Hazuki Mengetsu, launched an attack from other directions. Show me your true skills. If that's all you've got, that's what happened to that guy. Menma also brandished his executioner's blade, using the tip to block Hazuki Mangetsu's exploding blade. Spray, while simultaneously fighting and retreating, not giving Hazuki Mangetsu a chance to get close. The decapitation sword was about 1.78 meters long, and an explosion at that distance would not pose much of a threat. Hazuki Mangetsu failed to get close to Shura after several attacks, so he pulled out a scroll made of countless explosive tags from his explosive blade. Splash! The long strip of explosive tags was thrown at Shura on the other side, flying like dragons and snakes. Boom, boom, boom! Wherever the scroll of detonating tags passed, explosions erupted one after another, and thick smoke billowed everywhere now. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the main body of Suichitsu Hazuki and his two water clones also attacked. One of the figures broke through the smoke, wielding a ninja sword and engaging in close combat with Shura. Another figure swiftly formed hand seals, water escape water prison technique. A stream of water was ejected, quickly enveloping one of Shura's and Suichitsu Hazuki's figures, forming a water sphere. Boom! Inside the water sphere, Menma's executioner's blade shattered Suichitsu Hazuki's water clone into a puddle of water, but he himself was also trapped in the water prison. Samehada, go! Suichitsu Hazuki's true form plunged the greatsword Samehada into the water prison. Once released, Samehada moved with ease, swimming merrily in the water prison. It opened its massive mouth full of sharp teeth and bit down hard on Shura's shoulder. We succeeded. Hazuki Mangetsu hadn't expected their tactics to be so easy to execute. However, considering the enemy's flippant words and casual attack methods, it seemed that the other side did not take them seriously, which allowed them to implement their tactics. HMPH. Shura, this is the price of underestimating your enemy. Suichitsu Hazuki stood in front of the circular water prison, watching Samehada continuously absorb Shura's chakra, and couldn't help but grin with his mouth full of sharp teeth. Samehada feeds on chakra, so just wait until your chakra is drained. Suichitsu Habuki thought he had already won the battle. No one can break free from the water prison from within after being trapped in it. Moreover, Samehada is the subordinate of the Three Tails, and no one can withstand Samehada's chakra absorption. Even he himself was very careful every time he fed Samehada with chakra, and even needed to hunt down rogue ninjas and ninjas from other countries to supply Samehada with chakra. Oh, is that so? However, the guy in the water prison spell did not panic at all, and his tone remained indifferent. Hazuki Mangetsu had a bad feeling, and gripped his Bakudo Hibiki even tighter. Boom! Suddenly, a dense, dark red chakra burst forth from Shura's body, carrying negative emotions such as violence and darkness. Like a tidal wave, water continuously surged into Samehada's large mouth. Samehada, who was happily absorbing chakra, was suddenly forced to fill its mouth with chakra, causing it to swell rapidly, with dark red chakra overflowing from between its fangs. Finally, under the shocked gazes of Suichitsu Hazuki and Mangetsu Hazuki. Samehada, Yue. End of this chapter. Chapter 99, Samehada looks like a dog, please subscribe. Chapter 99, Samehada looks like a dog, please subscribe. Samehada, who had just been roaring menacingly as if it wanted to drain its opponent dry, was now vomiting because of the opponent's chakra. I can't believe my eyes. Hazuki Mangetsu's purple pupils, hidden beneath his white hair, trembled slightly. Samehada is known as the little-tailed beast. It can not only absorb other people's chakra, but also send chakra to its owner to stimulate the regeneration of body cells, thereby achieving the purpose of healing injuries. Even Suichitsu Hazuki, the first owner of the Samehada sword, was dumbfounded by what he saw before him. It was the first time he had ever seen Samehada so full. Seeing Samehada, which had absorbed the dark red chakra and then spat out in the water prison, Suichitsu Habuki looked like he had seen a ghost. This guy's chakra. Something's not right. Suichitsu Habuki looked at the dark red chakra and felt a strange sense of familiarity. How can this guy have such terrifying chakra? Could he also be a Jinchuriki? Hazuki Mangetsu instantly appeared next to Suichitsu Hazuki, holding the exploding blade. Frozen blade horizontally in front of his chest, his face full of vigilance and disbelief. Kirigakure has two tailed beasts, the three tails and the six tails. The six tails Jinchuriki, Yudokata, is not yet able to control the tailed beast and often needs the help of other ninjas to suppress it. The three tails Jinchuriki is the fourth Mizukage, Yagura Karatachi. Therefore, neither Suigetsu Hazuki nor Hazuki Mengetsu were unfamiliar with the aura and chakra of the tailed beasts. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Suigetsu Hazuki vehemently denied. None of the Jinchuriki from the major ninja villages have leaked this information. He was the captain of the Anbu unit beside the Mizukage, and intelligence from various villages passed through his hands. Naturally, the situation of the Jinchuriki in each village was also a key focus of his attention. Aside from the suspected replacement of the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki in Konoha and the One-Tailed Jinchuriki in Sunagakure, the situation of the Jinchuriki in other ninja villages is known to some extent. Moreover, Shura has been active since last year, attacking Konoha and Kimimaro one after another, so he could not possibly be a Jinchuriki from either of those villages. As for the Jinchuriki of Sunagakure and Iwagakure, it seems impossible. Damn it, this enormous amount of chakra. Samehada is actually overeating. Suigetsu Habuki stretched out his hand and called out to Samehada. This ninja sword has a life of its own. Once it recognizes its master, it can be used as a weapon or thrown out like a summoning beast. However, the gesture that Suigetsu Habutaki used to call for Samehada no longer worked. Inside the water prison, Samehada was spitting out dark red chakra, but it kept eating and spitting out chakra as if it never learned its lesson. It kept absorbing chakra even after it had eaten its fill. Even as Samehada convulsed, it refused to stop, ignoring its master Suigetsu Habutsu's calls. This made Sashiyama Faguki's face turn very ugly. He was the first owner of the Samehada sword, and yet he was ignored by his own ninja sword. Inside the water prison, Menma was enveloped in dark red chakra, which continuously flowed into Samehada's mouth, filling the creature, which lived by absorbing the chakra of its enemies to the brim. Finally, Samehada, with its mouth full of sharp teeth, collapsed backward. Then it suddenly stood up again. Its barbs went limp, rubbing against its numb legs, panting like a little dog, and even its tail, which served as the handle of a knife, kept wagging, expressing its inner joy. This pitiful, head-shaking appearance shocked the water pufferfish demon and Hazuki Mengetsu outside the water dungeon. Since the second Mizukage commissioned the forging of 7 ninja swords, no one has ever seen the great sword Samehada in such a form. Damn it, watermelon pufferfish demon's eyes were bloodshot. No matter how much he shouted, Samehada in the water prison remained unmoved, clinging to the enemy in the water prison like a dog. Let's figure out a way to take him back first. Hazuki Mengetsu was thinking about how to send the captured Shura back to the village and imprison him. As for Samehada, once Shura is imprisoned, Samehada will simply absorb his chakra. Suckling, inside the water dungeon, Menma, who was squatting and interacting with Samehada, heard the two outside discussing how to imprison and torture him. Oh, Menma stood up, grabbed the executioner's blade with his left hand, and reached out with his right hand to grab Samehada's tail. Instantly, Samehada, being the sensible creature it was, hardened and entered battle mode. Did I say I was going to come with you? Menma held a broken sword, the executioner's blade in his left hand, its cold light gleaming, while his right hand wielded the powerful Samehada sword. He raised his white three-eyed fox mask, and a terrifying pressure surged towards the two of them like a shockwave. Even through the water dungeon, Suigetsu Hazuki and Hazuki Mengetsu were intimidated by this powerful pressure. HMPH, so what if you're strong? The water prison technique can't be broken through from the inside. Suigetsu Habutsu roared, gritting his sharp teeth. Well then, how about this? As Menma finished speaking, the 3-Tomo Sharingan opened in his left eye beneath the mask. Kagutsuchi, who was sealed in his left eye, erupted from his feet like a volcano, and a dark red wall of fire suddenly shot up from the ground, enveloping Menma completely. Amaterasu spread out and burned the hands of the pufferfish demon clone, Suigetsu. The water prison technique was also burned through by this powerful wall of fire. Boom! The water body instantly dissolved, turning into a puddle of water that fell to the ground. "Oh no," Kasama Hazuki exclaimed in terror, retreating hastily and not even having time to care about Samehada. Another ninjutsu I've never seen before. They were able to break the water prison technique from the inside. Hidden mist technique. Suijutsu Hazuki swiftly formed hand seals, making the mist even denser. Water release. Great waterfall technique. Hazuki Mengetsu began forming hand seals, and a stream of water rose beneath his feet, gradually increasing in volume until it surged towards the enemy on the other side like a dam releasing a flood. The raging torrent seemed to come from the sky, carving a wide corridor through the surrounding forest. Well done. Facing the raging flood, Menma laughed loudly, channeling endless dark Nine-Tails chakra into the executioner's blade and Samehada he wielded, cleaving the oncoming floodwaters head-on. The two ninja swords were enveloped in dark red chakra. Stimulated by the dark Nine-Tails chakra, the great sword Samehada tore at the floodwaters in front of it like a vicious dog. Menma seized the opportunity to step forward, using the Samehada sword in one hand to absorb the floodwaters and cut a gap in the raging torrent, while holding the executioner's blade in the other hand, and charged straight at Hazuki Mengetsu. What? The great waterfall technique was broken, and the executioner's blade, wrapped in dark red chakra, slammed into Hazuki Mengetsu's shoulder, whose hands were still in hand seals. Despite his deep, bone-deep wounds, Hazuki Mengetsu swiftly used his water transformation technique, turning himself into a puddle of water. And you too. Seeing Hazuki Mengetsu turn into water, Menma's Sharingan under his mask shifted its target and caught sight of Suijutsu Hazuki, who was fleeing. With his left hand, he hurled the guillotine like a shuriken, hitting the fleeing Suijutsu Hazuki in the waist and pinning him to a large tree. Puff, watermelon pufferfish coughed up a mouthful of blood from between its fangs, its small eyes staring in shock at the guillotine blade on its abdomen. Several years ago, during the Third Shinobi World War, the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist encountered an insignificant Konoha genin, suffering heavy casualties. Suijutsu Hazuki only managed to survive by fleeing in panic. Now, an even more mysterious enemy has easily crushed the 3 of them. How many powerful beings are there in this world? Suijutsu Hazuki watched the figure gradually approaching, his consciousness swallowed by darkness. End of this chapter, Chapter 100, Hazuki Mengetsu and #039, S miserable escape please subscribe. Chapter 100, Hazuki Mengetsu's miserable escape please subscribe. A gentle breeze blew through the thick fog, causing Shura's black robe to flutter in the wind, and his cloak embroidered with a 9-faced Suvaha pattern to rise gently. He strode over to the corpse of the watermelon pufferfish demon and drew his guillotine. As the decapitation sword was pulled out, the obese body of Suijutsu Hazuki lost its support and split in two like a watermelon that had been chopped open, falling to the ground with blood and internal organs such as intestines. The blade, which was dented and battered from the battle between the executioner's blade and the exploding blade, frozen blade, began to slowly heal itself after absorbing the blood of Suijutsu Hazuki. This is the unique characteristic of the executioner's blade. It absorbs iron from the blood of its enemies to repair itself and restore the user's stamina. Therefore, the executioner's blade also has another title, the blade that never breaks. Menma bowed his head. The watermelon mountain pufferfish demon was dead beyond any doubt. With Kagura's mind's eye activated, Hazuki Mengetsu's chakra was rapidly moving away from the battlefield through the thick fog. The water-transformed Hazuki Mengetsu did not launch another attack from the thick fog. Not only did he abandon the corpses of Suijutsu Hazuki and Biwa Ju's, but he also abandoned the Kubikiri and Samehada swords and simply made a hasty retreat. That's quite decisive. Menma snorted softly, sensing Hazuki Mengetsu's escape route with Kagura's mind's eye, and made no intention of giving chase. If he really wanted to cause a major conflict in Kirigakure, he could have made some big moves within the village during the Kaguya clan's rebellion. Or he could have directly exposed the scandal of his fourth Mizukage being controlled by someone else to the Kirigakure ninja clans, including Mei Teromi. HMPH tilde Menma began to hum a song softly, scavenging the corpses of Juzo Biwa and Hazuki Suijutsu to see what spoils he had. On the other side, Hazuki Mengetsu's water-formed body sped through the dense forest. Only after escaping to a certain distance did he dare to revert to human form. Leaning against a withered tree, he gasped for breath, clutching the wound on his left shoulder, and hurriedly used a water-based healing technique to treat the wound. Cold sweat mixed with dampness dripped from his chin. Hazuki Mengetsu turned back to look into the depths of the thick fog, his purple pupils still trembling slightly with fear. After being injured by Shura, Hazuki Mengetsu immediately entered a water-based state and suddenly realized that Suijutsu Hazuki had abandoned him and run away. It's exactly the same way they escaped when 4 of the 7 ninja swordsmen were kicked to death by Konoha genin back then. How shameful. Taking advantage of the moment when Shura was chasing after Suijutsu Hazuki, Hazuki Mengetsu, a genius of the Hazuki clan, slipped away without hesitation. Was that guy really human? Hazuki Mengetsu recalled the brief but terrifying battle he had just fought. It wasn't until this moment that Hazuki Mengetsu realized that his opponent had been completely at ease, seemingly never unleashing his full power, and had been constantly on the defensive, as if. Hazuki Mengetsu couldn't help but recall the feeling of being trained by the clan elders when he was a child. However, the enemy will not show any mercy, and you need to go all out. If you are not careful, you may be killed like Suijutsu Habutsuki and Hibiki Juzo. Damn it. That guy didn't even use his full strength. Was he testing our fighting ability and fighting style? Hazuki Mengetsu finally realized, and a sense of humiliation rose from the bottom of his heart. Moreover, Juzo Biwa and Faguki Suijutsu are dead, and we also lost 2 ninja swords. Thinking of the losses in this battle, Mengetsu Hazuki's mood became even heavier, and he sped off towards Kirigakure. Since 4 members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist were killed by that Konoha ninja during the Third Shinobi World War, Reiga Kurasuke defected with his Reiju sword Kiba, and the second successors of the other swordsmen have yet to be selected. There were only 3 members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist in Kirigakure, and now 2 of them have died in this battle. More importantly, the executioner's blade and Samehada were taken by the enemy. Hazuki Mengetsu swept across the rooftops of the village, and from time to time, one could see the devastated village, where ninjas were cleaning up the battlefield, collecting the corpses of the Kaguya clan, and medical ninjas were moving around treating the wounded. Some buildings were also damaged by the ninjutsu used in the rebellion. The Mizukage building in the distance was also damaged because Zabuza's rebellion, with half of the top floor blown off and smoke still rising from the ruins. The morning sunlight failed to dispel the gloom that shrouded the village. The faint smell of blood in the air only made the name Village of Blood Mist seem even more glaring. Lord Mizukage. In the half-collapsed Mizukage office, Hazuki Mengetsu knelt on one knee. Yagura stood with his back to him by the collapsed window, his short figure elongated by the morning light, casting a distorted shadow. The mission failed. Yagura's voice was cold, but he didn't seem surprised. Yes, Hazuki Mengetsu bowed his head and reported the battle results. The enemy is very powerful. Biwa Juzo was not even a match for them, and the water prison technique was useless against them. Their chakra is so vast that even Samehada betrayed them. When reporting the battle results, Hazuki Mengetsu slightly raised his head to observe, but only saw the back of Yagura Karatachi. After I was injured, Suijutsu Habutsuki saw that things were not going well and tried to escape, but was chased down and killed by the other party. There's no need to say anything more. Whether it was the deaths of 2 Jonin or the theft of the executioner's blade and Samehada, he, as the captain of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist, bore inescapable responsibility. You've disappointed me greatly. Yagura's cold voice came from above, making Hazuki Mengetsu's heart skip a beat. Go back and reflect on your actions behind closed doors, awaiting the village's decision. However, Yagura Karatachi did not directly punish Hazuki Mengetsu, but only ordered him to reflect on his actions behind closed doors. Yes, Hazuki Mengetsu replied, then vanished in an instant. After Hazuki Mengetsu left, Obito Uchiha emerged from the shadows. Even 3 Kirigakure Jonin couldn't stop Shura. It seems they didn't even inflict any damage on him, and even his ninja sword was taken away. Obito's wrinkled face beneath his tiger-striped mask was full of solemnity. What a bunch of useless trash. Obito mocked the 7 ninja swordsmen. Although he hadn't figured out Shura's strength in their last encounter, Obito still cautiously manipulated Yagura Karatachi to send out 3 Jonin wielding ninja swords, among whom Suijutsu Hazuki and Hazuki Mengetsu were elite Jonin. With the combined fighting power of the trio and the 3 ninja swords each possessing different abilities, they could even put up a fight against a tailed beast. HMPH, if it weren't for the fear of driving the Hazuki clan into rebellion, that brat Hazuki Mengetsu. Although he didn't inflict any serious injuries on Shura, the deaths of Kirigakure Juzo and Suijutsu Hazuki greatly weakened the village's strength. Obito Uchiha walked to the edge and looked down at the village, which was riddled with holes after last night's battle. It was so similar to the Nine-Tails attack he had launched in Konoha 4 years ago. Following the extermination of the Yuki clan, the Kaguya clan was also wiped out. Several Jonin died, as did Juzo Biwa and Suijutsu Hazuki. Zabuza defected, and his 2 ninja swords were taken by Shura. The Hidden Mist village is now extremely weak. If it weren't for the fear of provoking the Hazuki clan to rebel, Obito would have wanted to control Yagura Karatachi and use the excuse of this mission's failure to eliminate Hazuki Mengetsu. However, the Hazuki clan is not as isolated and helpless as the Kaguya clan, nor as marginalized as the Yuki clan. Most of the ninja clans in Kirigakure have a good relationship with the Hazuki clan, and commoner ninjas also have a high regard for the Hazuki clan. Because the Hazuki clan once produced a highly respected Mizukage. Rin, the Sharingan beneath the tiger-striped mask, stared at the dilapidated Kirigakure village. Obito clenched his fists, a surge of vengeful pleasure washing over him. I'm a bit busy today, so only 2 updates today. Sorry, end of this chapter. Alright legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.